snap. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are y'all doing this morning? It is episode 45 of the Living Splitscreen Morning Show, now locked in with the Midweek Mix-Up Collective. Shout out to those guys over there doing everything that they can to help support us in our vision and help us maintain us. But not only that, get a little bit of housekeeping before we get too deep into the rest of the intro. I'm starting off with, I gotta let you guys know, got some Destiny 2 playing for you guys in the background. I did get roped back into it by my brother. He is a terrible influence, man. Funny story, I was sending him some videos in the back end just to kind of just show him, hey, look at what Destiny's doing, man. Like, look at what they're trying to do. Like, because they have been showing some things that kind of have been enticing in some ways. But like I told him, with them constantly taking out content and everything else, it was so obscure that I was just like, man, I'm really not trying to get back into it. But I sent him a video, a recent clip of one of the more recent trailers or whatever that they're bringing into the game, and I was expecting for him to, hit me back up and be like, yeah, man, I can't believe it, this, that, and other thing, but I'm not going to do it. Next thing I know, he calls me and he's like, hey, I bought Witch Queen. I'm like, man. So I already knew the avenue that we were going down into. So the gameplay that you're going to be seeing here today is us spending almost 3 hours trying to get the Gallahorn to not fully get it, because we still got to defeat some other monsters. But we had a good time, man. One of the great things that I think Bungie still has is their ability to create levels, the ability to create intensity and level design that is still there with them. So that's an important thing to see. I guess we'll see what happens with this whole Witch Queen DLC. But with that being said, back to the show itself. Again, you are here with Living Splitscreen. This is episode 45. And ladies and gentlemen, it's a beautiful thing to see you all here today. Again, y'all some of the ones that power the show on a week-to-week basis, that keep us motivated, other than me and Pong, because me and Pong can definitely do this on our own, talking to ourselves in a party, playing whatever game or whatever the case may be. But we always feel like we have something to offer the community because we come from a different perspective. Like I always say here, we try to take that real-time strategy view, that RTF view, pull ourselves out of the world, look at different avenues within the gaming industry, and just give people a subjective point of view. We are a non-console centric platform, excuse me. And that just means we talk about everything, whether it's Xbox, PC, Nintendo, PlayStation, doesn't matter what it is. If there's content for it, if there's news for it, we will talk about it. And it's also going to be based off of personal interest, which is, again, that's the amazing part of this. It's just our perspective, our opinions at the end of the day, which is an amazing thing. But I even feel like with that, we may be a little bit more in touch than maybe even EA is, but that's another conversation that we'll end up having here soon, because we definitely have to talk about how Halo has ruined Battlefield all of a sudden. But with that being said, is there any more housekeeping that I need to do? What else is there? We're over 470 subs on YouTube, which is an amazing thing. About to hit 500. Definitely share us out, hit that like button so people can be more aware of what we have going on here. If you support what we do, definitely let more people know so we can have more people come in, man. The more people, the merrier, the better. The more active chat gets, the more interesting conversations that can be had. As those who have been here, we'll look at the chat. If you guys bring up some interesting topics, bring up some interesting conversation, we're definitely going to bring that into the show too. Again, I feel like that's one of the pieces that makes us a little bit more unique than maybe your other typical show. But with that being said, I should say, I'm going to pass it off to one of the most uncanny gentlemen that you can find, not only in the YouTube streets, but also in real life. And he's just a wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience. He's the sole guy that likes to downplay himself when it comes to shooters, say he doesn't have it like he used to. But I'm here to tell you that he has it. He's definitely a team player. But with that being said, my guy, Pong, so how you doing today, man? What's going on?
Yeah, if you need a sitting duck to run out there and let everybody know where all the snipers are at, I'll do it for you. It's not a problem. I can do that. I'm good at that. So I will be your decoy anytime. Anyways, great to be here, Steel. Hell of an intro. First things first, Mr. Joanna Dark. Look, you don't have the balloons on your Twitter, but you hit up in the Xbox Factor podcast DMs this morning after I tweeted out our show. What a great way to start your birthday. So happy birthday, Mr. Nice. Joanna Dark. Absolutely to you. Everybody else in the chat, wish that man a happy birthday as well.
Let's get some birthdays in the chat. Get some birthdays in the chat, y'all.
Yeah. So happy birthday to you, sir. But otherwise, what a great Saturday. It is February the 19th. Man, I was telling you behind the scenes, Still, I miss your face, man. I miss your voice during the week. I miss your face during the week, and I can't wait till Saturday and the weekend so we can get some gaming in and we can do this damn show, which I absolutely freaking love. Come and wake up every single Saturday morning. This is a beautiful thing. But yeah, man, it's been a heck of a week. Look, Steel. Gotta start out. You know how we're gonna do this. We gotta start out with the what I learned this week from the gaming community, man.
Do you want to start with that, or do you want to kind of get into the upcoming games first and then lead into that? Because we don't have much. All right,
we okay, fine. I'll save it. Okay, that's fine. So. Yeah, guess what, everybody? Guess what? Cyberpunk is back from the dead. That's what I've been playing this week. I already had started playing it pre-patch. You guys know I've been on Cyberpunk since day one. My favorite game of last gen. All these fakers out here who came out of the woodwork and now all of a sudden love Cyberpunk.
It's fine.
Welcome back to the community. Just know deep down your hypocrisy if you were online joining the hate mob of Cyberpunk prior to this patch, okay? Just understand your hypocrisy still is there, and you got to live with that. But I do welcome all of you into the Cyberpunk, into Night City, where you should have been all along.
Let's go,
because this game is freaking fantastic. And guess what? They did an awesome job. Love to see it coming back from the dead. Gives me hope, Steel, that we might see more Cyberpunk in the future from CD Projekt Red. Like I said, at the end of the day, the only thing I truly want is the potential for a sequel at some point, even if that's not until next gen.
Yes,
I still want them.
I do too.
I still want them to go back to this world. This world is absolutely amazing. I'm so glad they got this patch out. And suddenly, Steel, it's now a great game. Even though patch 1.3.1, I could have told you that was the current gen patch. And there's a lot of people who would have believed me because you're playing pretty much what I've been playing for the past 4 months.
A lot of people have been saying that. A lot of people who've played it have said, well, there's not really that much of a difference. I mean, of course there is. You got your different visual qualities, and they've definitely probably optimized it better for sure. Other people have said they've had more issues with it. So I guess it's kind of up and down. Again, if you were interested in Cyberpunk before, try it out. I don't know how many people have to tell you, hey, jump into it. Again, I was influenced by Tempest Sun and Pong Steel for me to jump into it. And I'll tell you right now, I had a fantastic time with the game. I thought Cyberpunk was amazing. I didn't experience a lot of the issues people had. The one unfortunate thing that I did experience is that, which is extremely unfortunate and why I would want to go back at some point, though unfortunately due to my own bad habits or whatever the case may be, it's hard for me to go back through games or restart games. I wasn't able to capture any gameplay because at the time, when I was recording it through OBS or recording it any other way through my game bar, whatever the case, it wouldn't, every time that I would get gameplay of it, it would come out choppy. So that's unfortunate because that's not how the gameplay was, and I always wanted to get some representation for that. I actually wanted to get some, that's funny because I wanted to get some gameplay of that today, and I was going back through like, damn, I thought I had some Cyberpunk gameplay, and I didn't, and I remembered why, and it was that reason. And it's unfortunate, it is what it is, but definitely jump into it, man. Again, like you said, you put up those 4 pictures, man. The attention to detail in Cyberpunk. I know a lot of people, say, "Oh, it's the game that could have been," and it's like I don't know why people say that. The story was solid. The attention to detail, especially in those cyber arms, bro, like in the Mantis arms, it's just like, it's like there's some insanity levels there that I just want. Yeah. If you're interested, definitely try it out. If you're into Western RPGs, it's definitely one of those for sure. Try it out, man. See if you're into it. It's on sale now, I believe, for like half off at this point.
5-hour trial, Steel. 5-hour trial.
5-hour trial, 100%.
Progress carries over if you decide to purchase. So you don't lose anything by trying the 5-hour trial at all.
So there you go. Per no excuse to not try. At least try it. See if it's for you, and if it's not, hey, it is what it is. Hopefully, CD Projekt Red gets their stuff together with The Witcher 3, because that is another one that I am interested to see. Because there's a lot of hype behind Witcher 3 that I've never jumped into. Especially, I had some moments, and right now I have. And I don't mean to cut you off for too long, Paul. It's my fault, but
I don't care. Nah, I'm talking to the chat. Don't worry about it.
Witcher 2 kind of turned me off of the Witcher series, just because of how the gameplay and the mechanics and everything was set up in that. But I've also heard that Witcher 2 wasn't that great combat wise, but Witcher 3 does all those things and more. It takes it to that next level. It's an amazing game. So I'm waiting for that next gen patch, or whatever the case may be. Or I mean, I could probably play it on PC right now, get the next level or whatever. But yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see where they take it from here. So definitely exciting times. But I'm going to pass it back off to you, man.
Nah, that's cool, man. No, that's the way it is. With CD Projekt Red, look, everybody's completely forgot how bad The Witcher 3 was when it came out. And of course, social media wasn't like it is now. So it escaped a lot of that nonsense that we saw with Cyberpunk. Look, again, I don't defend games coming out broken, right? That's not the deal, but there's there's certain publishers whose ambitions run so high that they shoot for the moon, they don't make it, and so the game comes out and it's not exactly what it was supposed to be. CD Projekt Red's one of those. Bethesda's another one that's gained that reputation for decades now. Right. But again, they move things forward, and I will never fault a dev for being too ambitious. Again, we can have the conversation about where the responsibility falls on the devs to kind of check themselves and maybe scale back some of that ambition when they realize they're not going to be able to make it. But at the end of the day, I want them to push things too far, because the games come out better for it. The industry is better for it as a whole when they do push that stuff, even if they have to fix it later. Again, not defending it. Everybody spoke with their wallet. There was refunds for Cyberpunk. Sony pulled it from the store. There was a lot of backlash. They took a hit in their stock. They got internal lawsuits going on. Look, this was bad. There's no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, I think CD Projekt Red is going to make this right, just like they did with The Witcher 3. And I hope people give Cyberpunk the chance it deserves. Like I said, even if you were one of those that jumped on the hate train, just to jump on the hate train, I'm cool with you coming back and trying it out and saying, hey, this is now a great game. Cool. I understand that completely. And again, I'll never tell people how to spend their money. If you don't want to buy a game because you feel it's in an unacceptable condition, that is perfectly normal and fine. Please do so. But please don't give up on a game when the developer's putting a lot of time and effort into fixing it. Come back, try it out, because this game does deserve your attention. Not every game's for every person, but if you like Western style RPGs, first person RPGs,
this one did it,
and you like Cyberpunk, look, this is one of the best, most complete Cyberpunk games we have ever gotten. The side missions are absolutely, some of the side missions are Witcher 3 level or beyond Witcher 3 level side missions. For me, I'm still finding them still. I'm 250 hours in through my first playthrough. Again, granted, a lot of photo mode time, a lot of driving around time, listening to music, taking in the sights, because this game is so freaking amazing.
Right.
But 250 hours in, I'm still finding side missions. I had 2 in the past week that I came across that are some of the best side missions I've ever had in a video game, period, including your Skyrims, including everything, where I was left going, well, damn, wow, right? And that is a unique thing. There aren't too many studios out there with great writers that can make side missions feel sometimes even beyond the main story missions. Those side characters become so well developed that you care about what's going on, 100%. Even though they are just a tiny little part of the story. That is special. That's what makes CD Projekt Red one of the best Western RPG developers out there, still to this day, even with all the problems. Again, that's why I recommend Cyberpunk, trying it and finding out if it's for you, because there's so much to discover so much to find in that game. It's ridiculous. I love it.
And I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum of Pong, to where like typically in all of any game that I play, honestly, especially when the story based, I don't, there's not a specific goal. Like, yeah, I want to hit side mission stuff. Yeah, I want to do the other little stuff, but I try to approach it just as natural as possible, where I just do whatever feels right at the time, right? Whether it's the story missions or where there's some side content. I beat Cyberpunk in right over 50 hours, and also got one in, if I think it's the best ending to the game. Other than another one, I believe is like the full complete ending or whatever the case might be. But I do recall that I did get the best ending in the game. So this is to give you kind of perspective. And it's not like I was trying to. It's just I did what felt right. I played the content as far as how I wanted to, and that's what I came up with. And I had an amazing time. So it kind of gives you that range. You know, it could be 50 hours, it could be 250 hours. But again, it just depends on what's going to keep you in there, right? So it's amazing to see that people are jumping back into it and are enjoying it, though, so that's cool.
That is cool, and it's great. Like I said, I just want the chance that we get a sequel. I don't want CD Projekt Red to be the point where they never touch Cyberpunk again because it's too toxic, right?
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen.
I feel like it's a missed opportunity that they've already backed down off of the multiplayer side of it, man. Because man, how dope would it have been for example, me and you to jump in there, run around mobbing on folks, kind of like GTA kind of in a way, but in that Cyberpunk world, man, running around with mantis blades, these cool weapons, just ransacking on folks, different missions. I think that's really a missed opportunity for Cyberpunk, but unfortunately,
they could put it back on the table. It's not out of the realm. If they get enough traction here and the game takes off again and has a second life, if they put out some really good DLC like they did with The Witcher 3, and all of a sudden people are like, hey, you know what? This is a Cyberpunk we all thought we were going to get. Everybody jump in. They start selling copies again. Multiplayer might be put, because it was going to be a separate game. Right. It was going to be a standalone. Maybe they put it back on the table again for us. I'd love to see that.
We'll see. 100%. I mean, I think some PvP content might be pretty dope in there too. Just some straight up shooter content or whatever the case. I mean, that could be cool. And what I mean. Again, who said that? Doom Reaper. He said, but if it took 4 years to get the multi out, would anyone play it? Again,
if it's good,
if it's good, yeah. I mean, of course. Yeah. But again, it's hard to know. So hopefully really that's the best decision for them. Mr. Joanna Dark also asked, "Hey, Steel Rain, you going to jump into Destiny 2?" Yeah. If anything, I'm definitely going to do it for the PvP for sure. I am going to end up playing through the new story content just because that's what we do. I've done it to everyone thus far, and then with my brother buying this recent DLC expansion, I'm definitely going to jump through it. But that'll probably be the end of it. I'm not a raid dude. That's not what I do. I play Destiny to play PvP mainly more than anything else. That's what I get my enjoyment out of. I can get my PvE content in other places. Not to say that there's not fun to be had there, because there is. I mean, this video you guys are seeing in the background I just recorded this a couple days ago. Was me and my brother going to go get Galahorn. Again, that's a rocket launcher from Destiny 1 that they put in Destiny 2. Just here, well, more so recently than anything, and you guys kind of get to see that experience that we had, because we had some time. And again, me and my brother are on this kick to where we'll play it for X amount of time, and then we'll put it down for, like, I think the last time before we jumped into this was, I believe my brother said his counter said about over 180 days, and then before we jumped into it, it was like almost a year and a half before we had played last time. So it's like, we have those stunts, we have those moments, but we also are, it just depends on who we got around us, man. And it also depends on the games that we have around, because I'm also lost in a little bit about me this week, because I don't think I got into that.
You didn't?
I've been lost. I've been getting myself lost in Lost Ark. No pun is intended. That's been an amazing time. Again, for that Diablo isometric game, it's an amazing thing. I've been thoroughly enjoying it. The combat's been nice. I'm about level 32 or so, somewhere in there, and you want to get to 50. That's the main thing. I've been avoiding a lot of the side quests and stuff that they've been kind of introducing, because they've been saying, hey, you got to get to level 50. Level 50 is when they open it up, and the reason they want you to get to level 50 is because you're going to be missing out on a lot of the monthly bonuses that you can get. And so far already, Pong, I have 2 months of premium without even paying for anything for the game.
Nice.
Which is
Love
crazy.
it.
The game,
Yeah.
some game MMOs typically don't do that. And to see, because Black Desert has done the same. Black Desert is in Game Pass for those who don't know, which is another amazing thing to me because it came out of Game Pass and it came right back in. But it's another Black Desert is another one that does the same thing. That's by Pearl Abyss, originally published by Kakao Games. Who are going to be the makers of Crimson Desert. Again, if you want an idea of what they're going to be putting out, definitely go play some Black Desert to at least give you some kind of an idea of the world and what they're trying to do with that. But yeah, I got 2 months of premium already just from playing the game, which is an amazing thing because again, that's how they entice you, right? You get 2 months, you get those months of premium, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, you're paying monthly for it. That's how the other MMOs do something similar, but it's just cool to see that they're still doing something of that same nature to help to entice people. Because when I got that, I got another mount, I got another pet that I ended up naming Simba because it looked like it was a lion that had some wings to it. But to get those types of things keeps people like me enticed in it because it's like, oh wow, I just got this concept without paying for anything, and this is stuff that's not in the store either. That's the other part of it. So it's
unique mounts and stuff.
Exactly, from just playing the game, which is an amazing thing. So if you have a PC, definitely try out Lost Ark. Other than that, and in Destiny 2. Enjoying the dark. Yes, Lost Ark is good solo. You don't have to co-op it. I've been looking at videos and things like that. People recommend you, if you're playing it for the first time around, play it as a single player content. Why? Because the co-op content, like they do in other games, they will upscale the enemies and everything, and it can take longer for you to get through some of the content. Whereas if you do it by yourself, solo, you can kind of pace yourself, do all the side missions, and do whatever you want. It's completely up to you, right? When we're talking about Lost Ark, Big Mad Mo. So yeah, I mean it's 100% fun. I was having a good time with it, so definitely check that out if you're into it. But
Steel, now that you played it, do you think Lost Ark could be translated to console easily?
I'm playing with controller.
You are? Okay.
Yeah, I'm playing with it. It needs, for me, it needs to be optimized more for controller. It can definitely be brought to console, 100%. There's no reason. It's the same thing with Black Desert. I didn't think Black Desert could come to console because I originally played it on PC, and part of the reason I put it down originally, and this was after me putting in 50 hours and configuring controls on my own to set it up for controller. I was like, I don't know how they're going to bring this to console where people are going to have to customize their own configuration. But to see how well they did it now, it's like when I tried to go back to PC, because PC doesn't automatically have it set up the way that it's set up on console, at least from what I've experienced, I was like, damn, I'd rather play it on console at this point because it just felt better. But I'm playing with controllers, so there are some mishaps. Like, for example, for whatever reason, my B button doesn't work sometimes. Like, randomly, you'll do a mission, and then your B button is one of your abilities, man. Like, so, and there's more, and it has a multitude of ways for you to get to those different abilities and things, but it'll completely not let me use that button for a mission, and then it miraculously starts working again. So there is some more optimization that needs to be had, at least on the controller front. But yeah, it can definitely come to console. I feel like it definitely needs some more work so that it can be seamless, but it definitely can. Especially moving around the UI, they do it. I mean, you use your right stick to move around, to use the mouse, pretty much. They just have to make it more intuitive because it is a lot. Even me, myself, I'm using the controller, but it's hard for me to, like, I tried it the other day, sit back and like try to play it on the big screen without being in front of a keyboard, because there are still some things that, because it doesn't explain for you how to get to it through the controller. Sure. You have to, it's like, okay, I have to press all these different buttons to figure out how to get to it. But it's like, okay, well, I just got the keyboard here, so I'm just going to use the keyboard. So there are those aspects of it. But I do love it. I love it on controller. That's the only way that I would play it. If it was on keyboard and mouse, I wouldn't be playing it. Now, I would put it to you like that. I'm not that guy anymore. Like, it's not for me. So that's just my opinion on that. But
that's cool. Well, I asked just because I want to see more of these games show up on console, right?
Yeah,
and
100%.
I think that I think we're getting to the point now. Again, there's no excuses anymore. I know it's not optimal, and I hear people's arguments that there's just no replacing keyboard and mouse for RTS games and that kind of stuff. Right. I disagree. I still think you can get it to a point where it's more than acceptable that it's actually decent on a controller, no matter how complex it is, and still make it feel good for the console players. Now, whether or not they ever be able to, if there is PvP, whether or not they ever can match a keyboard and mouse player, that's a different story. But like I said, Halo Wars 2, once I got good with the controller, I really didn't have any problems matched up against keyboard and mouse.
Yeah.
So, but you know,
depends.
I see a game like Crusader Kings, a grand strategy game, and I watched some of their Viodocs showing what they've done to translate that complex, because grand strategy, whole different ball game. We're talking about menu upon menu upon menu, and that team, which is not a big team, has converted that game over for console, which is coming out in March. I can't wait. This is grand strategy. We're talking about world domination style strategy game. And what they did to get that to feel comfortable on the controller is nothing short of incredible. And so I just think there's more and more opportunity for games like Lost Ark, especially, to show up on console, because, man, this game would be fantastic.
There is, and this is actually an amazing conversation to be having right now, because the only bad thing about bringing these games to console is that there is a lot more optimization that needs to happen, and a lot more attention to detail, thinking about things from the outside perspective, kind of like we always say here, because there is a lot of that, and and I think that's the biggest reason why you see those games come to PC and not console, because there is a lot more work that has to be done and implemented up front, and without having the talent there or having the people to being able to work on that on the back end, hey, how can we set this up for console? I think that's why we see it always come to PC, and then they work on it on the back end, kind of like what we may be seeing with Age of Empires 4, to where it's been on PC, but now it's getting coming over to console. My biggest thing with, like, using the Last Ark as an example, it is it's weird, because maybe I just need to slow down my mouse cursor movement as far as with using it with the stick, because it's really weird, man, because it wants you to drag, and because it wants you to pull, when you pull up these different menus and everything, it wants you to pull from these menus and put down into your hot toolbar, and you have to literally click and drag them. On the controller, it doesn't feel that great. Like if you let go of it, it's going to go right back to where it was, and that can be annoying. So and the other thing too is the fast movement of the cursor, like with controller. And there's just so much more optimization that would need to be done. But it can definitely happen. It was just going to take more work. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're running into now, especially, is that there's not enough people who can necessarily put in the work for that on the back end. Julian Dark had a couple questions before we get into the upcoming game segment. He said, Steel Rain, side note, would I enjoy Witch Queen if I jumped into Destiny 2 from scratch? I beat Destiny 2 campaign. I like PvE versus PvP. I'm going to be straight up honest with you and tell you no. But I am not the person to speak to about that. I would definitely hit up the Iron Lords, Ash and Luca, other people who have been heavily invested into the PvE side of Destiny. I would tell you no, but I am a PvP player. That's the only reason Destiny keeps coming back, is that specific reason. So it's hard for me to be like, yeah, I mean, and then with the Witch Queen, it's not like you had to have played the previous content for it to have mattered. This is a whole new jumping on point. So yes, you could definitely jump into it, and they're going to boost everybody's light level up and everything. So you'll be in a good spot. This would be the time to jump in and be caught up to a degree, and have people around you, because these are the moments where you would want to jump in, because these are the moments if nobody else, I know people try to downplay, who wants to play? Destiny has this thing with people that millions of people will flock or enter the universe when new content drops. It happens every time. So if you're going to jump in, if you're interested, jump into it. Then the other thing too, I think he said something about, he said, how is Black Desert, and do I need to pay a monthly fee? No. Black Desert is one of those MMOs does not require a monthly fee. But just like how they do with other MMOs, there is benefits to you having the premium content. Well, at least the premium package. It's going to be
Black Desert is extremely grindy without the premium package.
It's grindy
anyways. It's grindy, but without the premium package, it's even more so.
Black Desert, like I tell people all the time, it is hard for me to recommend Black Desert unless someone has genuine interest in the game, because it is literally one of those games that will beat you the fuck up in the first 30 minutes of the game.
Yep.
You have to love farming. you literally, you have to love the combat. You have to love the gameplay loop. There is some story there, but the end game is you grinding your ass off, or being like one of these whales that pays thousands of dollars every month to be caught up.
Right. Yeah.
If you're not like me, for an example, I'm not minded by that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and lie to say that I've never spent money on the game, because I have, but Black Desert is a very double-edged sword, because it's punishing, because when you get to a certain point, when you're upgrading your gear, Black Desert will whoop your ass and say, all right, well, you want to upgrade, well, you have a 40% chance to hit this next upgrade. If you fail, you're going back a level. And so now you come into this point to where you're fighting against your time spent. Black Desert does not give a fuck about your time. If you don't give a fuck about your time, then that's where people fuck up at. People blow up their gear, and then it's
still tell them how grindy it is, because it is PvP. If somebody jumps into your farming rotation,
once you hit level 50, it's automatic PvP. You cannot turn it off. Now, there are servers, especially now, where Black Desert has definitely done better over the years, and I'm glad they jumped in with Pearl Abyss, I got the help from them, because they have made it new player friendly. There are servers now that don't have any PvP. You can level it all the way up to 60. It's called seasonals. They have these seasonals now. There is no PvP content in there. Yeah, you can still go to arenas or whatever the case and get your fix there. But other than that, it's throughout the world. You don't have to deal with fighting people. But when I was jumping in, and typically, and how Black Desert works is that once you hit level 50, PvP is activated. And if you go into a farming area, you're trying to level up, or you're trying to get gear, whatever the case may be, somebody will come take your spot and will kill you over and over and over again until you get the point. And it's one of those, unfortunately, like I was telling Pong a bit ago about this, it's one of those unsaid rules to where there's this thing to where you have to fight for your spot. And if you're not strong enough, you have to go to a different server. It is what it is. It's definitely a bully. It's a bully game. But the thing about it is, if you learn the game, you can be better. You can be better than somebody who has a higher gear score than you. That's what I was getting my rocks off on for a long time. Right? And Firebird says all MMO you will grind. No, not the way you have to grind in Black Desert. You want to get? No. I'll give you another example. Black Desert feels all good all the way up to level 55 for you leveling. After 55, it takes you so much XP to level up. If you're not motivated, you're gonna have a problem. And then past 55, it gets worse and worse and worse. I'm talking about millions of XP needed. Whereas like Destiny, at least, it still rewards you. Destiny is grindy if you want it to be grindy. And that's not why I play Destiny, right? Again, I play for PvP. And that's where I get my rocks off on it. If you're a PvE player, then yeah, it can be extremely grindy for you. But it's all about perspective. So just here that I didn't want to get lost in the sauce and everything, but those are some good conversation to have, because we've had these conversations about service-based content and kind of the future that we're going into. MMOs have already been on this kick for a long time, and then one of their top problems is having people to jump into those worlds. No, not like Diablo. It's so much worse than Diablo 2 leveling. Diablo 2 still felt rewarding. At the end of the day, it still felt rewarding. You know what you were working towards.
There's plenty of games out there. ESO, Elder Scrolls Online is very rewarding no matter what level you're at. So yes, the grind aspect's part of MMOs, but at the same time, there's different ways to do it. And there's a balance. There's a balance. Like to find, because like you were just talking about Steel, they're competing with so many other games now that like to a certain degree you want something that's heavy grindy to keep people's attention, but you don't want to get to the point where it's so monotonous that everybody but the hardcore leave for something else. That's Black Desert. That's like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's better now, but that's
better now.
That's exactly what Black Desert is.
Start up.
Which is why people like to play Final Fantasy 14, which is why people have jumped in the Lost Ark, because it's exactly that. It's easy to jump into. The leveling feels rewarding. The combat feels rewarding. One of the other things that I love about Lost Ark is that they let you try out every class in the beginning of the game. You have 100% control of what class you want to play. I'm talking about all the moves, all the levels, like everything. You get the full scope before you start. Whereas where a lot of other games, you're 40 hours in, you're like, I don't know if I really like this character like that. Whereas with Lost Ark, you get to try out every class, every subclass those classes have, and to kind of move from there. So it's really nice. So he said like Gears 2. Well, I mean, that's different, but neither here or there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, we're about 36 minutes into the show. Again, definitely hit that like button, share us out, tell a friend or a buddy about it. Definitely appreciate you all being here in chat. Big Bad Mo says, what's your class, Steel? If you're talking about Lost Ark, I am a berserker. That's something about that big ass sword. Hey, look, if I haven't said it here, one of the number one things that I love about Soul Calibur, yes, it's because it's over the top and the characters and everything, but one of my favorite characters of all time is Nightmare. And it's not Siegfried, because Siegfried, I mean, of course Siegfried becomes Nightmare, but Nightmare just himself, the character design, that big ass sword aspect, any character that has that huge sword is definitely going to be, and of course he has armor on. And again, people make fun of me that you just like you're into men in suits. I'm like, I guess I am.
You are.
So, but with that being said, let's get into these upcoming games, man. We got to tell the people what's come out, and then we can also, after that, get into a game that has recently come out that I know neither one of us have touched, but there are some opinions. There is a clown show, and you definitely got to get to the people before we even get into that, what you've learned from the community. But let's get into these upcoming games first, man.
Yeah, let's do it. So this is coming into the week of February the 21st on Monday. So what we got going on this week? Look, we just had some big launches this week. Total War Warhammer 3 came out this week to rave reviews. Horizon Forbidden West obviously came out to rave reviews, at least for most people. It's
right.
King of Fighters 15 is out and is absolutely killing it. And great reviews on King of the Fighters 15. This has actually got me kind of hyped. I was watching some of K Mega's gameplay. Man,
it looks good. Yeah.
Every time I watch it, it looks better and better and better. So we had a great week of launches last week, but this week, boy, oh boy, we got some good stuff in here. So, first of all, let's start out with Monarch on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC on February 22nd. This is from NIS America. I love NIS. They are one of those studios that are niche JRPG, that Eastern flavor that I would love to see more of come to Xbox. But man, they're coming out with a new RPG called Monarch this week on February the 22nd. So definitely go take a look at that. I love their style, man. They're like a double A JRPG, right? So they specialize in like, they don't have like they don't have the resources of a Square Enix, right? So you're not getting that triple A experience, but you're getting just fantastic double A JRPGs. I love what NAS does over there. So please go check that out if you're into that. We've also got Martha is Dead, which is extremely controversial. We didn't even talk about this last week, Steel.
Oh, damn.
Man.
Looks like you skipped a few there.
Oh, did I? Oh, yeah, I did. Okay, all right, let's go Soul Cresta. Sorry, Soul Cresta. We'll leave the Martha's Dead just here in a second. Thanks, Steel, for covering me there.
You're good.
I don't know what happened, but it looked like it flipped. Never mind. Doesn't matter. Soul Cresta is coming out. PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC. Developed by Platinum Games and published by Hamster Company. And this is another action game that comes out this week. I honestly have not heard of this game. at all.
No, I haven't either. Look, Platinum's putting it out again. Platinum's been in the news.
It's a shoot 'em up. It's a shoot 'em up.
Is it really?
So
that's crazy.
$40, not a full price game. So yeah, Platinum Games has much been in it. I love Platinum Games. I did not even know this was.
Hey, bring Scalebound back.
Yeah, bring Scalebound back. I'm down for that. You know that.
I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be. We'll get into it in a moment because that's a lot of people downplay it, and I get neither here nor there.
So this is revealed to be a successor to Moon Cresta and Terra Cresta, both vertical scrolling arcade games developed by Nichibutsu. So this is one of those niche titles that came out of nowhere. So cool. They're doing a shoot 'em up. Platinum Games. Go check that out. Not coming to Xbox, however, which is also odd again, but that's okay. 2022. Let's go. Anyways, Edge of Eternity, which came out on Game Pass. Yes. What is it? A week ago or 2 weeks ago? Was it last week or was it the week before?
I believe it was a week ago. It says February 10th.
Okay, thank you. So almost 2 weeks ago then. Edge of Eternity. Yeah. I played through the first basically the opening kind of prologue, which is probably about 45 minutes to an hour long, depending on how you play, of Edge of Eternity, turn-based, classic style ode to the old school JRPGs. Really well done. Again, not a AAA. This is by a small studio, but go look. They posted some videos of when they started the game.
Completely different.
Back in 2015, I think it was. Yes, 2016 to now. Wow, what a difference that time made. And holy cow, this game is actually really well done. There are some bugs to it that they are working on. There was actually some mission killing bugs in this game that people were stuck on. But they are working. I think they've already put out one patch. But yeah, Edge of Eternity is great. Go check it out. Again, it's on Game Pass. So if you got Xbox, you got Game Pass, no risk. So go try it out. Edge of Eternity is great, but it's coming to Switch this week on February 23rd. Then we do get to Martha is Dead, which I wanted to jump to.
Yeah.
And Steel caught me. So again, interesting. Martha is Dead. Man, this has been a crazy. This is by published by Wired Productions, developed by LKA. This started out as a PlayStation exclusive. Mm-hmm. Then there was some issues somewhere, and the developer said, "Oh, well, actually, now it's going to be Xbox exclusive." And then later in development, all of a sudden it came out as, okay, well, actually, we're going to put it out on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, everywhere.
Yeah.
But then the controversy started, and I think this was last week. Like I said, we didn't even talk about it last week. Martha is Dead is a psychological horror game that does have violent scenes to it.
Yes.
Okay. Extremely violent scenes. I've watched the clips and I'm going, I'm kind of turning my head going, really? This is really? Yeah. But Sony decided to censor it, which is absolutely insane to me. Again, I am completely against censorship. You have a rating system in place for a reason.
Exactly.
I, as an adult, can judge for myself if I want to go pick up an M-rated game. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I don't care what you have to do. If you have to use the adult only, which they never use at all, they have it, put it on there, slap it on this game. I don't care, but to censor this game after Sony themselves, first party studios, have some very questionable content release.
Yeah.
And they don't censor their own games, but you're going to censor this one, man. I got issues. So again, I'm against all censorship. So I can't, this is just stupid, man. This is just so stupid. I can't believe they did this. But anyways, Martha is Dead is coming out this week, February 24th. Again, if you're into horror, I'm not personally, and I was like, psychological horror I can do, but after watching some of the scenes, I'm like, no, I'm not really going to do this. I don't think this is a game I want to play, but looks cool. A lot of people love the horror genre is blowing up everywhere. So this game is going to be pretty big, I think, for LKA. So, unfortunately, the Sony side, probably not so much with the censored version. I can't see,
because
you're going to buy horror, right? If you're going to buy horror, you're going to buy horror.
You're getting a partial game.
Yeah.
Honestly,
right,
if you want to look at it that way, and that's unfortunate because what's good with that, man? Like, again, I mean, just like you said, I didn't get this whole censorship thing either. I don't get why they do that. You rate games a certain way for a reason, and if there's a part in this game where they're cutting off faces, Leatherface style, then that's what's in there. I mean, that's going to turn a lot of those people who are into the horror genre. That's what they're into, man. They want to get the gore. And I know Doom was just saying, hey, people can ask for an option to turn down gore. Sure, in a game like Gears of War, but in a game to where it's designed that way because it adds an extra level of umph, we'll just call it, because it's a horror game or whatever the game is. That's the point. That was the devs vision. And I feel like anytime where you're capping the devs vision to what they're trying to do, whatever the creative vision is unfortunate, and it shouldn't be done that way. There's a reason why we have ratings, and let's just stick to that.
Can you imagine like what theater decided that they're going to censor out part of Texas Chainsaw Massacre or whatever horror movie? Like you go to the theater and all of a sudden the scene skips because they cut out the gross part. Bro, that's horror. That's what the people show up for.
Yeah, exactly. And like Joanna Dark was saying, it's crazy how we have disturbing scenes in The Last of Us 1 and 2, and they censored this. And it's just like, and it's the same thing with other anime games too, because it is a huge problem with a lot of the games that are coming in from the Eastern market. They're a little bit strange. And when it comes over here, they're not censoring those things, but you want to censor this and censor their creative vision, which again just makes it more so come across like, well, you're going to get more on your other consoles than you are going to get on this console. And then and Doom said it's the play censored game station.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have a point, man.
I disagree.
It's not good.
It's not man. Good. It's not a good look. It's not a good look for Sony. They've done it in the past as well, but they don't do it to their own games. Look, it's again, censorship on any level for me is just completely wrong. Let people make their decisions. We're all adults here. Again, this is not being marketed towards kids. This is not any of that. And you let other questionable content show up on your system, so you pick and choose, cherry pick it. I don't like that, man, at all. I don't want any of that in my games. I hate this. So anyways, but Martha is dead, so if you got an Xbox, definitely go support, or a PC, please go support the devs if you're into horror games, because Martha is Dead is looking pretty damn good from that standpoint. Again, not for me, but I completely understand why people enjoy it. So, and then we've got Never Alone coming to Switch on February 24th. Never Alone has been out, first launched in 2014. So this is definitely a port coming over to Switch. It's been everywhere. It's been on iOS. It's been on Android. It's been on PlayStation. It's been on Xbox. It's been on PC. I actually played this game when it first came out on PlayStation 4. Back in the day. It is a awesome, nice little indie developed game from Upper One Games. Beautiful animation style to it. Really a cool game. So if you like the indie scene, obviously I would suggest, if you haven't played it anywhere else, you got to Switch, you're looking for something to buy. Hey, go get Never Alone. It's worth your time for sure. Just again, set in like the Arctic. It's just beautiful. The style. So go check it out. And then we've got, I think, is that what else we got this week? Oh no, we got lots more coming up, don't we, Steele?
No, I mean, I think that's
no, we got
got a couple. There's a couple.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah. So Altair, Sophie 2, The Alchemist of the Mysterious Dream, PlayStation 4, Switch, PC. Look, Adelaire, I think it is Adelaire. I can't remember how people pronounce it. Yeah. It's one of those JRPGs that again, it has a base. It's from Koei Tecmo. It has a base. It's one of those smaller franchises, but a lot of people do love it, especially the people that play all JRPGs. There's a lot of people do love this game. I can't even think if I've played one before. Anyways, go check this out. Again, JRPGs, but it's coming out on PlayStation 4, Switch, and PC. Again, another one skipping the Xbox. I believe I did see the developer come out. Gust is the developer, and he actually said it's published by Koei Tecmo. Came out and said that if there's enough interest from the Xbox community, they would not be adverse to bringing these franchise over to Xbox.
Wow. Okay.
So again, some signs of loosening up over there in the East. Some of these smaller developers may finally start looking Xbox's way when they come to these games. So hopefully we can get something like that moving. But yeah, go check that out. And then I'll save the big one for last year, Steel. Let's jump to Grid Legends. Grid is a really good racing game. I was actually impressed when EA Play came onto Xbox and Game Pass. I finally downloaded Grid and really enjoyed myself. Grid is actually really, really fun.
It was back in the day,
Yeah. So there's a lot to it. And Grid Legends actually introduces a story mode within a racing game, which we don't see very often. And I've heard some people say, it's light story, but I've heard other people say, hey, actually for a racing game, it actually does introduce some cool things where you got some interaction between the racers and there's some drama and there's so Grid Legends is definitely trying to find its own spot, not trying to be Forza, not trying to be Gran Turismo. It's really trying to create its own space, which is cool to me. So Grid Legends, that comes out on February 25th, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC. Definitely worth a shot if you're a hardcore.
No hype behind this though, man. Like there's very little being said about it, man.
No, but they showed it off and people said, hey, it kind of looks kind of cool. I mean, again, it's Codemasters, right? So the makers of Dirt, obviously we know well, Dirt 5 did very well on Xbox for sure, because it was one of the few games to come out and kind of showcase your series console. So Codemasters is always really good at what they do. Have they ever been considered top tier? No, they've always been that next tier down, but they've done some really impressive things, especially in rally racing, right? It's just that Grid 100%. Gives you all sorts of different style racing, offers a wide variety of cars. I think they just announced that they were adding 50 more cars nice. to their already list, their big list. So again, it's got its spot. It's never going to compete with your Forzas. It's never going to compete with your Gran Turismos, right? It's always going to be that second class citizen when it comes to racing.
Right.
But I think it's worth people's times if you're a hardcore racer. Again, if you're somebody that's always looking for the next racing game, go check out Grid Legends. And it's something that I will eventually probably pick up on sale or wait till it comes to EA Play, right? So once it comes to EA Play, it's going to be available in Game Pass. So we're all good. So I expect that 6 months to a year. Grid Legends is definitely interesting, so go check that out. Final game, Steel, of this week here. This is a big one, man. This is probably the most hyped game of 2022 yet, and may wind up being the most hyped game of the year, depending on how it actually turns out and how much of the general public it grabs, right? Because I think it's reached that status hype level wise.
That's what's crazy.
I think people outside of your normal Souls fanatics are realizing that Elden Ring, that's right, Elden Ring is finally launching this week, February 25th. I'm sure everybody here in the chat knows about it, but I think it has reached that mass kind of mindset, right, at this point. Go ahead and speak on it, Steel. Elden Ring, you're a Souls fan?
Yeah. I am.
So,
but my Souls fandom has definitely been strictly on the Dark Souls series itself.
Yep.
I've definitely touched on Neo, and I've touched on games like Ninja Gaiden back in the day, and I've also touched on Sekiro, though I haven't played those games all the way through, and mainly because, again, there's other games that kind of pulled me away from that, and that's unfortunate. But not to say that I would never jump into those games. It's just there's always something else that I would rather be playing at the time, and again, PvP games always pull me before anything else. But Dark Souls is always pulled. It's always pulled the string for me, right? And it's mainly because it's one of those games to where I do love a challenge in any game, and Dark Souls is one of those things, has always been one of those types of games, and FromSoft, and it goes all the way back to Armored Core for me, and that was one of the things I actually didn't realize, and I've always wondered why I put the two and two together, why I enjoyed From Software games so much, and it goes back all the way into Armored Core, but they offer this level of challenge that's kind of outside of, oh, you just need to be, I don't want to necessarily say, oh, just get good, or whatever the case. It's more so one of those things to where they want you to understand how to play the game, the parry system, how armor works, how the different weapons work, what is your play style, and then while also beating you up at the same time. Dark Souls, any of the Souls games, or any game made by From Software, it's not for the weak-hearted. It's really not. It is like I was telling Pong in the background, because he was like, I don't know, I'm thinking about jumping into it. And even like I was telling him, if you have some genuine interest in it, sure, jump into it, buy it. But if you don't, and you're kind of on edge, you're like, I don't know, it's Elden Ring, I'm not really a Souls fan, I would wait. Although I've been hearing that this one does seem to be new player friendly, that could mean a lot of different things. Is it new player friendly because it's open world? Is it new player friendly because you can join co-op sooner? Because typically with a lot of these Souls games, you have to play up to a certain point before you unlock that co-op experience. And then even then, I would still typically recommend for people to, I guess I would still recommend for people to have some form of liking to it, even in solo, because some of these things, like, you have to learn how to play the game. And unfortunately, Elden Ring is, well, I'm not going to say Elden Ring, but the Souls games are definitely one of those games where people are just going to typically tell you, hey, you just need to get good. And if you don't like getting beat up, if you don't like going back and collecting your souls and losing a bunch of shit when you die and dying by dumb shit and, the boss just seemingly cheating sometimes. And if you're not into that, then don't jump into it. They're doing a lot of things, like I was telling Pong here in the background, because he likes to use magic and shit like that. This definitely seems to be one of those games that you're definitely going to have a lot more accessibility, a lot more viable options, because magic, was useful in other previous Souls titles, but in this one, it seems to be a little bit more prominent, to where, you can summon, from what I've seen, you can summon people in, you can have your own little army, or whatever the case might be. I say army, but it's like 3 or 4 characters that you can summon in. The lightning attacks, the other magic abilities that you have, seem to be a lot more useful in this game than they have been in previous games. So you can definitely be more of a support role character. Whereas in previous titles, even if you were a support role, if that's how you were built, you're probably gonna get thrashed around. I'm not gonna lie, unless you knew the dodge mechanics and everything else, there's still other things that require a certain amount of patience for these games. And that's why I have a hard time recommending it just to anybody. Though, with that being said, it's crazy to me because a lot of people have been saying that, these are niche games, only so many people buy them, or so many people are into them. But for whatever reason, Elden Ring has unmatched hype to it. The type of hype to where there's more Elden Ring hype than I've seen a Horizon Forbidden West hype, to be completely honest with you. And, people always say, you got these AAA games and Horizons look so great and everything else. From Soft usually isn't the greatest as far as character design goes. Yeah, I mean, they got good looking monsters and things like that, but your individual character doesn't always look the greatest. Whereas like in this one, they've taken a lot of steps in the right direction, learning from the other titles. Again, you got Neo, you got Sekiro, you got all the Souls titles, you got Demon Souls, you got all these other games that they've kind of learned from and taken experience from. And I feel like they're implementing all of that into this one title. And I feel like this can definitely be one of those that definitely reaches that next echelon and kind of sets the next bar for them. Biggest reason for me, though, selfishly, is that I hope Elden Ring does well, because hopefully that gives them motivation to fully 100% do the next Armored Core game. That's going to be amazing to me. But this is a selfish thing. But no, in all serious, I do want more people to be able to experience a good Souls title, whether it be the mythos, whether it be the story, whether it be the enemies that you fight, the huge bosses, like just seeing that giant dragon that they're showing everybody in the trailer, being able to fight that. I want to see how that experience is going to be, and I'm already anticipating it for it to be annoying as hell. But it's one of those games, and if you definitely have somebody to jump through with, again, and all the other Soul titles, you've always been able to kind of summon the buddy and to kind of go through it. You don't have to go through it by yourself, and that's kind of how I'm probably going to end up jumping into it. But a lot of times, I end up going into it solo, and then whenever my brother gets on, that's when it's like, all right, where you at? Let's get together. Let's get caught up, and then that's how you end up doing multiple playthroughs and everything else. Like we've already stated that, hey, once we jump into here, we're gonna try to do everything that we could possibly do in this game. Experience everything, because I know I believe from what they said, the game could get done pretty quickly. I believe it was like 50 hours or so, probably quicker than that. But there's a lot of stuff that you'll end up missing. And there's a lot of stuff in hidden places and things like that, as you would kind of expect in a Souls title. They've also added better movement in this game, which is also another key thing for me. Before, it was kind of a hassle to jump around and do everything else. It wasn't really, unless you were like jumping to something, there wasn't really a point. Where in this one, it seems to be a little bit more versatile. The world is more expansive. It's like kind of got this hub city kind of thing going on, or hub world, I should say, kind of thing going on, which can definitely be a benefit. Again, like I was telling Pong, if you have some interest in it, you want to try it out, I would definitely say wait to see what gets said. Look at some reviews. Listen to your favorite reviewers and see what they say, like an ACG or someone to that nature, and then kind of go based off of that. And then if you have somebody that'll co-op with you, like I was telling Pong, if you see enough from it where it's like, oh man, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna spend some money on the game. If I jump into it, I'll jump into it. Then perfect. I mean, you know that you have somebody to play with, which could give you a reason to play through. But I don't want to give anybody the wrong kind of thought process. It's probably going to be another difficult game. Although they have said it's going to be easier than previous titles. So we'll see how that goes. That could be subjective in a lot of ways. I'm excited for it though, man. It's already pre-ordered. We already got it good to go. I'm getting on the Series X. I think it's going to be a good time. I'm definitely going to spend a little bit more time on the character customization this time, just because the character models in this damn game this time around is on point. Now, is it the most expansive, the greatest one I've ever seen? No, but for a Souls title, it is really nice. The attention to detail that they put into it, I'm very intrigued. I'm very interested. I want to see how this kind of takes us. So, what are your kind of feels on it, Paul? I know you're kind of standoffish about it and everything else. No, what are you thinking?
I wouldn't consider it a standoff. I'm just, again, I was down for doing this day one because I said this was going to be my final attempt at getting into a Souls game. Right. Okay. And I liked what I was hearing from the developer. I love the open world aspect. Again, I love Souls games, from aesthetics, from everything, the character designs, the stories, all of that. Again, I will watch people play Souls games, even though I can't myself. I enjoy watching people play Souls games because I just love everything about them. And I wish it was a genre I could get into. I really do. And I've tried. And I said that Elden Ring was going to be my final attempt. And then at that point, if this one, from the standpoint of it being open world, being supposedly a little bit more friendly in some ways.
It's supposed to be more RPG-ish.
Oh, right, correct. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to do this one last time. And I, of course, with the co-op and all that kind of stuff, I knew I could hop in your, in the backpack, your backpack, and you could carry me around a little bit, but the more I've read on it, the more I've watched on it, for me to go into this as a magic classed character, which is what I would want to do.
Right.
The question I started asking myself was, okay, if I get this game, am I going to play it solo, or is this going to be strictly one of those games I wait for Steel or somebody else to be on and then hop in their game and run around as my magic user? Mm-hmm. Or is this a game that I'm actually going to try solo as a magic user, which I already know, even if they've made it easier, From Software games still wind up being brutal for magic users straight up, right?
Yeah,
because
100%. Gotta be able to do more than that. Yeah.
You gotta be, yeah. And so that's what I'm afraid of. This winds up being that co-op only game for me. And with all the other co-op games that are out there right now, like, do I need another one that I'm going to spend, again, budget gamer? I can't afford every game. So is this a game that I'm going to spend $60 on and then just have it sit there, for weeks on end or a week at a time where, you and I hop into it for a little bit, but then it's not being played because I'm not going to do it solo with a magic user. So I'm questioning whether or not I'm going to do it up front this week. I may hold off. I think I'm leaning towards holding off. There's a lot coming out in March, right out the gates that I'm interested in. So it's like, maybe I'll hold off, wait for a sale on Elden Ring, or something like that, or at least let you dive into it. Like I know you will, because I know I can trust you to tell me like, hey, no, Pong, I really think that this is something you could actually solo. They have made it a lot easier. Like, I think even as a magic wielding type class, you could definitely hop in and play this solo. And I think you might really like this. I'll take your word for it and dive into it. So I think I might hold off and get some more impressions from people like you before I do so, just to make sure, because again, I don't want to get, if this is a game I'm going to enjoy, if this is finally the Souls game that's going to break through, I want to make sure that that is the actual case, because this will be my final attempt at a Souls game where I just finally say, you know what? I just don't have the patience. I just don't have the time. I'm not going to do it. Me as a grazer, I can't spend all the time learning it, because I'm not going to be only playing this one game, which in a lot of ways with Souls games, unless you're naturally good at them, which there are plenty of people who are, you have to focus, right? You have to be in it to learn all the different moves, the mechanics behind why you got to use this at this certain time for this certain boss, versus be able to just jump into like a regular style RPG game and be able to play however the hell I really please. Right. So that's what I'm worried about. So I think I'm going to hold off this week and see what everybody's talking about, and then make my decision from there. But I love everything that From Software does. I love how their games, it just everything, the atmosphere, everything about it just appeals to me. It's just, I'm not willing to put the time in. So I'm honest with myself. It is what it is, right? So
and that's perfect, because that's what I always tell people. You have to be honest with yourself. Doom Reaper also brought up brings up something. He says magic is cool, but the sword play is where those games are magical. Yes, but I think that this is where Elden Ring is going to be different, because they've added so much emphasis on the magic side of things. At least from what I have seen, I think it's going to be a lot. That's where it becomes a little bit more, because I saw somebody says that Elden Ring is supposed to be a little bit more, is going to be more casual. I don't know if it's going to be more casual per se, but I think because of what they're doing with the magic, it's going to be easier for someone like a Pong to jump in and play more of a support class role like you would have in any other game, and then kind of go from there. Whether you enjoy playing by yourself, again, I've seen gameplay of people using strictly magic, not even laying a single sword hit on any enemy, and we're doing good damage. And that's what you expect if you're a magical user. Whereas in other games, yes, you can get to that point, but you have to build up the stat to get to that point, which can take time. You have to go through getting beat up by the boss in their face, swinging a sword at them. In your third playthrough, now you have enough of points in that specific stat, intelligence, or whatever the case may be, to really hit hard with those magic abilities. Whereas this one looks a lot different. So I'm excited for it.
The summoning aspect is what got me. Because if I can summon help, I was like, okay, maybe I can do this.
That's exactly what. That's one of the main things that makes this different, because that's exactly what you can do. And I thought that's I think that's the other thing that's going to make this a little bit easier, because yes, I mean, like, you could summon help in other games, but it was like right before the boss, and then that help wasn't all that great. Whereas in this one, it's more so, it's part of your rotation, it's part of your abilities. Whereas the other ones was like, oh, if you miss getting this character at this certain part, oh, he's not going to be there for the boss. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where it's going to open it up a little bit more, but I guess we'll see.
And P Firebird 77 love Dragon's Dogma. Okay, I played Dragon's Dogma. I actually started a new playthrough on Xbox. I love Dragon's Dogma. Supposedly coming out with Dragon's Dogma 2. Dragon's Dogma is amazing. And that one I can play. I understand why you say it's like a Souls light. It's a little different. It's a lot different, actually. But I love Dragon's Dogma. Dragon's Dogma is great. I have not played Breath of the Wild. I will never play Breath of the Wild. I don't like Zelda games, period, point blank, except for the old classic Zelda. Zelda just does not appeal to me whatsoever. I don't diss them. I don't say they're trash. It just does not appeal to me as a player. So I will never know if I could actually play Breath of the Wild because I won't play it.
Yeah, and it's kind of a hard comparison because my wife really enjoyed playing Breath of the Wild. I don't think I would just tell her because she was good at the Breath of the Wild that you should play Dark Souls. Like there's no interest there where she'd want to do that. And so just give you that perspective too. I think that was the last one.
That is it. That's it. I think
the other one,
March after that.
The other one that you skipped over was I kind of talked about a little bit earlier was Destiny 2, the Witch Queen DLC is coming out.
Oh, yeah,
yeah.
It wasn't listed on here again. It's one of those things. So yeah. So you
but
definitely
that's on here. But I talked about a little bit about that. Again, it's coming out next week. Again, if you're interested in it, definitely jump into it. It's hard for me to make the recommendation to you unless you're a PvP main. So that's just completely up to you. But yeah,
because I should have gone to the Xbox Wire article because that does list the Witch Queen obviously being coming out. Let me go check the Xbox Wire real quick, see if we missed anything for Game Pass.
Nice.
Let me see if anything's showing up.
There's something supposed to be coming up here soon for sure. We haven't heard nothing yet. Their Game Pass is teasing something that's supposed to be coming.
Yeah, we'll see. Look, if they pull off the Miracle Steel, like if they, because they were supposedly have the marketing rights to Elden Ring, and then that all dried up. That contract went away, and obviously they wound up not having the marketing rights for Elden Ring.
Right.
If somehow, like From Software was like, "Hey, we're gonna make it up to you. We're not gonna give you the marketing rights, but we'll cut a deal for Game Pass," and all of a sudden this is a shadow Game Pass drop, man. Bro,
that's gonna be insane. That's gonna blow the world up.
It'll break the internet. That's for damn sure. Yeah, there's nothing really coming out this week. There's a couple small indie games that we didn't talk about because they're not on there. Light Up the Room is showing up for Xbox Series. That's definitely an indie title, but not on Game Pass. Just optimized for Xbox Series consoles. So yeah, nothing big. So maybe they're gonna pull a rabbit out of their hat. I can't imagine what the cost would be on it, but damn, that would be a big boon for Game Pass. Let me tell you, to have Elden Ring drop in. So we'll see.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's gonna blow up the world if that ends up happening. So with that being said, that was the upcoming game segment. Shout out to everybody in chat still. Much love to everybody here. Again, we're over an hour into the show. We got into some heavy things in the beginning, some interesting conversation.
We always do.
Now gonna be giving that upcoming game segment. And now, this can go one of two ways. I know you got to tell the people what you learned throughout the community, but do you think that kind of rolls off of the whole Horizon discussion also? Do you want to kind of throw that in there?
Of course, yeah, because we could talk about it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So let's see. How do I want to set up this whole Horizon Forbidden West thing that we got going on? So there's been a few discussions here. I've seen a lot of people say that, Horizon Forbidden West, it just released on the 18th of February, so shout out to that. I've seen a lot of people clamoring for this game. I've seen other people try to downplay it, say it's not that great, it's overhyped. And then I've also seen a lot of people say, that it's Game of the Year quality already and everything else, and kind of going from there. I kind of want to give my opinion as someone who has not played the game. And also, then that's the perspective that we're going to be coming from. We don't have a PlayStation 5. This is not a game, I'll be very upfront, that would force me to want to go look for one. And I have no ambition or reasoning or want to do that. Even if I had a PS5 right now, I would not be able to make the promise or say that, hey, I'd be playing this game right now, because it's just not how I operate. This is another one of those games for me that is an add-on. Versus being a reason, which there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their individual opinions, and if that's what you're into, then that's what you're into. If this is the game that you have been waiting for, then great. One of my main issues, though, is that I'm seeing a lot of people who are, again, doing the whole console war shenanigans stuff, right? This game does have some bugs in it. It's not a perfect game. This game does have its own issues and everything like that, which will be ironed out. But one of the main aspects that I do definitely want to speak to is that from somebody who has played Horizon Zero Dawn, and again, I have not fully completed the game due to, and I was playing it on PC, but that's mostly due to, not because the story's boring, I never understood that, but it's one of those games to where, again, I'm a multiplayer first gamer. If my brother hits me up and it's like, yo, let's play some whatever, I'm probably 9 times out of 10 gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna put down whatever I'm playing so we can jump into whatever. If Pong hits me up, it's like, yo, let's jump into some Dying Light, I'm probably gonna stop playing what I'm playing, be like, all right, let's jump into some Dying Light, because I'm also having a good time with that. And there's nothing like those co-op experiences, right? I've experienced that the 20 plus years that I've been gaming. So it's like, yes, I do enjoy my single player experiences, but when you have the opportunity to play co-op with somebody, especially people that are in your friend group or whatever the case may be, there's no better feeling than that, because that's how a lot of memories are created. But as somebody who has played at least halfway through or has touched on Horizon Zero Dawn, I could definitely say from what I have seen from Horizon Forbidden West, it is everything that it should be and more. The attention to detail that they have placed in this game is an amazing thing to me. The amount of action, well, I'm not even gonna say action, but the amount of particle effects and the way that the world just feels alive is something that
this is what you always speak on, right, Steel? This is what you always speak on about the details that
every
added
time
to the game.
Every time. Now, one of the main problems I do have with this, though, is that, again, this is giving people this false narrative that it's okay to play games at 30 FPS. Oh, people are like, oh, it looks so great at 4K 30. Oh, man, it looks so much better. Look, ladies and gentlemen, play games however you want to play them. If you think it looks good and it's better enough for you to sacrifice the frames for the quality or whatever the case, cool. You play those games how you want to play them. But you cannot also complain about devs not hitting a certain limit or whatever the case may be. This is going to continue to be susceptible to you, if this is going to be not susceptible, but acceptable to you. Because they could have just as easily given you a 1440p option, even though the PlayStation 5 doesn't do 1440p, but they could have definitely gave you a 1440p resolution, upscaled to the 4K, and give you even more detail and 60 FPS bare minimum across the board. Now, that's just me, but that's also me being somebody who understands some of how games are made, the hardware that's there, the possibilities that are there, and the fact that people play to these marketing terms, 4K, ray tracing, 8K, the spatial sound. The fact that people play to these terms is forever going to be a funny thing for me, because until we're able to, I feel like for me personally, that's kind of the minutia of it. Like, I could care less about any of the other stuff. Give me something that I cannot tell the difference. I want you to be able to be like, yeah, the game's from 1440p. Damn, really? I thought it was in 4K. As good as it looks, and the frame pacing, everything. Because whether you understand it or not, playing a game at 60 versus playing a game at 30 feels completely different. And I want people to get to a point to where you understand the way games feel, because it is completely different, especially in action-based games. Right? It'd be different if it was a walking simulator and you just needed to look good. Cool, I understand that. For an example, the Medium, it's one of those. It can be 30 FPS. They're also got two different versions. You got two different games. Well, not two different, but you got the same game running 2 times in the same environment. So they got all these different things going on. So there, I can see why they had to set up a 30 FPS on that, because they were doing a lot. They were doing something different there. But in action-based games, in any game, really, to me, 60 FPS has to be the bare minimum that we get to, and then go from there. But the fact that these marketing terms hit so strongly with people, it's going to take us even longer to get to the future that a lot of people want to get to. Like, people say, oh, I want AAA games, 4K, just that and other thing, max quality. What if you can have max quality at 1440p? You never know the difference whether it's 4K or not, unless Digital Foundry breaks it down for you. We have that technology in place, but it's not being used. One, I feel like because the devs aren't necessarily used to it yet. Again, we're only going to the second year of these consoles being out, right? And typically you don't start really seeing a change from generation to generation until about the third year, right? When you really start getting those games that are exclusively on those next generation boxes. We're still not using the Xbox Velocity architecture. They may be using it in some facets, but they're not using it the way that they market it or said it's supposed to be used. I know that for sure. Because again, we still have cross-gen titles, and the same thing with the Kraken architecture. Either one is not being used to its full capability, which I feel like is unfortunate. Sly Crow, I'm not completely sure if the performance mode is 1440p. I believe that it is, but again, from what we were told, the PlayStation can't do 1440p. Again, you can always do the resolution and upscale it up or down depending on however you want to do that, but it's completely up to the eyes of the beholder at the end of the day. I just want people to stop settling for less and then clamoring for how great it is. Again, visual fidelity is great, but I'm always going to speak to the fact that I want more detail in the game, and Horizon has seemingly done that. Even performance mode, there's more detail in this.
It's 1080p still. Just
it is 1080p. That's what I figured.
Because PlayStation does not support 1440.
That's what I thought. Yep. Now, it could have a 1080p upscaled to 1440p. Who knows? That could be something that they have going on. But again, if it doesn't support 1440p, then it's kind of hard for me to believe that. Yeah, like Nick was saying, 1440p is 60 FPS. That's a sweet spot, right? I'm not expecting the Series S to do that, but there's no reason the Series S can't do 1080p 60. You know what I'm saying? But that's a different conversation. Keeping it on Horizon Forbidden West, Guerilla Games is definitely top tier talent as far as dev goes. They know what they're doing. They know that this world that they're building, the talent is 100% there, which is something that Sony's always going to be known for. Taking their time with games, releasing them in such a facet to where it's movie quality. It's to anybody that you show it, they're going to be like, man, this is crazy looking. But again, those games also take time. For this to be the second version of the game, again, you always expect the second version to be better than the first, and this has done that. If you look at the first game, this is at least 3 to 4 times better looking, to me at least, from what I've seen, than the first game was. And just to take it that step up, especially with the water and everything else that they have going on. Now, it's not as crispy as they made it seem in the original trailers, but again, they gotta sell it to you. But to still have a lot of those things in place, so like some people were saying, I've seen people shoot off armor off of different mechs and it's floating in the water. There's just a lot of attention to detail there that they didn't necessarily have to implement. And the fact that we're getting to the stage to where devs are starting to realize, because of there being more power there within these consoles and because of the future that we're moving into, they're able to add a little bit attention to details into games. Now, I have seen the glitches, alloy skating, the environment not being interactive, which the first game did have, which is really weird to me in some aspects when I see that. And I haven't done like super research. I don't care enough about whether games have bugs or not to be like, oh no, this game's trash because it has bugs. Because let's be real, games have had bugs in them for a long time. I know people like to act like this is a new thing and, oh, it's unacceptable, especially with where we're going with these visions being so huge. I would, again, like Pong kind of stated earlier, I would rather them go big and fall short than go short and never reach their end goal and the game be less than what it could have ever been. Again, you can always dial a game back, but it's harder to add on if it wasn't part of the original vision, without it taking X amount of time, right? So, again, it's an exciting thing for me. It'll definitely be one of those that I want to jump into down the line. If it ends up coming to PC, which I would expect for it to a lot sooner than the first one did, because again, the first one came and it did really well on PC. I think the second one coming to PC would do really well too, especially being able to get the better fidelity and everything else, frame rate, such and such, so far, such and such, excuse me. I think that'll be an amazing thing. But again, it's one of those things that I'll definitely touch when I get down the road at some point. It's not necessarily a reason for me to be like, yeah, this is a selling point for me, and it's not something that I could sell to other people like, hey, this game is a reason why you should get this console. I'm always going to tell people, hey, if you like the first game, you'll probably like this game. Especially from what I'm hearing, better pacing, better story development, better gameplay. If it's a second iteration, as you would expect, they did well in the second one. So far, a lot of people are saying that it's not a perfect game because it didn't hit 90 Metacritic or it didn't get the higher Metacritic score, which is another thing that's extremely absurd to me. Again, the way that people are so, I know, the studios kind of have their own things that they're kind of working through, because some of these devs do get paid based off of that, right? Where they have to meet a certain Metacritic score to get a certain pay, commission, whatever the case might be, and to be compensated. And I think that's kind of unfortunate too, because Metacritic score is heavily influenced by personal opinion, and it takes 10 people can sit there and say, oh, this game's trash, that have never played the game, haven't beaten the game, have no understanding of the game, had no interest in it, and give you a bad opinion. So again, it's another one of those to where I think 88, I would think is where it's at right now. I think that's an excellent score, man. Again, it doesn't become questionable for me until, and again, I'm not somebody who pays attention to Metacritic, but if I do end up looking at Metacritic, if I do look at different scores or whatever the case might be, just to kind of give myself some more information, if it's not a 70 or lower, I'm not really second guessing the game, especially if I was already interested in it. And I feel like that's the bigger point of all this, is that people are so heavily influenced by other people's thoughts and what they're into versus what they're personally into. And they're so jaded by that it's unfortunate that you downplay a game or say it's not as great as it could be or whatever else the case may be, when honestly, go look at this damn game, man. Even the gameplay that you see on YouTube. My God, the attention to detail is damn near, it's absurd to me. This is what I am looking for in the future titles, and this is what I want Xbox to definitely do more of in the future, is that attention to detail. Again, people making, I saw some people making comparisons. Oh, this game looks better than Gears could ever have, hope and imagine. I think you might want to hold off on that. Right? I don't know. Gears is definitely, especially with Gears 5, it's a beautiful fucking game. And this game is beautiful also. And that's another game that has a lot of attention to detail, a lot of facets there that a lot of people care about and that I'm into. And kind of the same thing here. But to pass it off to you, Pong, how do you feel about the opinions about Horizon Forbidden West? I know this kind of leads into your not only get some help segment, but also I think it's kind of combined at this point. Not only is it to get some help, but what you've learned from the community at this point. What have you learned from the community, and how do you feel about Horizon Forbidden West, man?
Oh, look, Steel, look. This is great because, see, the clown show painted themselves into a corner this week. So now if a game of their favorite plastic box comes out and it ain't scoring a 90, guess what, Steel? They got to go attack the people with opinions that don't line up with theirs now, right? So they got to go attack these reviewers, and they picked out Stevior or Stivior or whatever the heck that site that nobody knows about until their opinion-based reviews show up and they don't align. They had to go attack the guy who wrote that opinion piece, that review of their, what was supposed to be the golden child in Horizon Forbidden West for their favorite plastic box, the PlayStation. They had to go attack him personally. They had to go after him. This is the craziness. When you paint yourself in a corner and you create this narrative that anything below a 90 is not a home run, which is the most ridiculous concept of all time, then you put yourself in this position. So what are you going to do? You're going to lash out. That's what I learned from the community this week, Steel. And look, the clown show on the other side, again, both sides have their circus. The clown show on the other side, of course, took full advantage of this situation to obviously obviously lay into the fact that the PlayStation did not get their 90 plus Metacritic home run. So again, there's no excuse for either side, but this is ridiculous. Everybody needs to get some help if you're leaning into either one of these narratives. Horizon Forbidden West, for me personally, Steel, I'm a little bit opposite of you because Horizon Zero Dawn was one of my favorite new IPs of last gen. So I actually was looking forward to this. Again, is it enough right now, considering my financial situation, my budget situation, to go out of my way to go get a PlayStation 5? No, it's not, because it would be one game that I'm going to play on there.
Right.
And for me, that's not enough right now to go do it. Okay. I need more. However, would it be one of my first purchases when I do get a PlayStation 5? Absolutely would. This game looks absolutely gorgeous. Again, bugs don't bother me.
Right.
This whole narrative of, oh, the vegetation, it still doesn't get destroyed when she's swinging her sword. It doesn't move. Yeah, I can walk through some of the vegetation.
Who cares?
I don't give a shit about that stuff. Okay. That stuff has never been something that I have looked for in a game. If it's implemented, I go, hey, that's pretty damn cool. Look at that. It kind of reacts.
Exactly.
But if it's not, if I'm walking through a plant,
I'm not paying attention
to it. I don't care. I don't care at all. Horizon Forbidden West looks absolutely gorgeous. Everything about this, the water that they showcased during some of their events and through some of their trailers. Look, I've seen it now live, both on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4. I've seen the video clips, compressed video clips on YouTube or on Twitter, and it still looks absolutely phenomenal. Some of the best underwater stuff that I've seen out of any game, probably the best underwater stuff I've ever seen out of any game.
It's crispy.
Look, Guerilla, like you said, Steel, Guerilla has always been known for pushing the boundary when it comes to graphics. Killzone, you can say what you want to say about the gameplay. You can say that it never was that Halo killer that it was.
That's because they marketed it that way.
Right. But graphics wise and what they did with that old hardware, phenomenal. Guerrilla Games are technical geniuses. Okay. They know what to do. Okay. They know how to implement it. Like you said, some of the scenes I've seen people just standing there and taking kind of a panoramic video of what's happening in the world, just as Aloy is standing there. Bro, look, that stuff is absolutely just off the charts. When you're talking about the leaves falling, when you're seeing the movement from the wind and the trees, you're seeing all these little dust particles in the air. Oh, that's what we talk about here. Those details, those little details are what I love to see. Again, the other stuff doesn't, I don't pay attention to it. I've seen the video of her swimming in the water and then she's swimming on land. Okay. Hey, to me, that's just funny. Okay. I crack up at that stuff. That stuff I've seen a million times in other games. That's the shit. Yeah. I'm sure Guerrilla, being the perfectionists that they are, do want to patch that stuff up. And I'm sure they'll get around to patching it up or trying to fix it. Right. But hey, in a big open world game like this, it's going to happen. But the introduction of the new dinosaurs, monsters, whatever you want to call them, right? That what they've created there and expanded upon from the first one really, really just looks so damn impressive. When you get down, I saw the video. I think Jago Kugan, shout out to him, was playing from Retro Renegades, was playing, and he had taken video from his PlayStation 4 of his fight versus one of those new Cobra enemies.
Right.
Wow. Look, I could not believe it was PlayStation 4. Like, I went back to his tags because I was thinking, I like scroll, I watched the video, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. And I was thinking, I'm like, wait, does Jago even have a PlayStation 5? And scroll back, no, he tagged it PlayStation 4. Man, that is wow. Guerrilla, shot for being a cross-gen title. Man, you guys stuck the landing on this one. So yeah, no, Horizon Forbidden West looks good. Again, learning from the community this week that we are at the point that anything below a 90 is now not considered a home run. Yeah, man, come on, get some help, bro. Look, again, these are opinion-based reviewers, okay? It doesn't matter if there's some bias. It does not matter whatever you want to point out. It's an opinion. At the end of the day, you're going to have biased people that give it 100 when obviously it's not 100. Depending on how you score things. Again, maybe in their opinion, it is 100. That's fine. But you're going to have those biased people that give it 100. You're going to have those biased people that give it a 70.
Right.
To go and personally attack people on the low scores, again, there's no excuse for it. Again, these people are human beings. They can write what they want. It does not invalidate your purchase. I don't know why you need validation from other people for your piece of plastic or for your enjoyment of a game. I have zero clue how you can be an adult. You are an adult, assuming you're an adult. You are an adult who makes purchases based upon your feelings for something, and you need other people to tell you that your purchase was a good one. Get the fuck out of here. Okay. Just please stop, grow up. It's time. Okay. You're an adult now. You make your purchases. Doesn't matter what other people think. I don't care. Again, that's stupid. I played games that have been rated 50s, 60s that I've enjoyed that other people say complete trash. Yep. I don't need their validation. I can sit here and raise my hand and say, no, I actually really like that game. I don't care what you think.
Cyberpunk.
I don't care. Yeah. Cyberpunk 1, right? From day one, I was in there. Right?
Both, yeah.
Yeah. So stand up, right? stand on your own 2 feet, right? Stop caring about what other people say. Stop caring about your console war narratives that you need to have a 90 plus to go around bragging about your system of choice. You don't need that. This game is probably, depending on how the rest of the year goes, will be in game of the year consideration.
Yeah.
Okay. But from the sounds of it, everything story is good. Nobody's saying it's the world's best story ever, but again, Guerilla is not known for the narrative, right? But they've created a very well-designed story, but they've given you something special, a new world to jump into with Aloy, expanded upon everything that they did in the first one, right? And so for me, I just think that you need to go ahead and make your purchases. Stop caring about Metacritic. The console war narrative is dead. This needs to go away because it's doing nothing for anybody except for bringing negative energy to what should be an absolute celebration point of another great piece of content coming out for all of us to enjoy. And again, even though I don't own a PlayStation 5, I can sit back and watch videos of this. I can watch gameplay of it and say, God damn, congratulations, Guerilla. 100%. You guys did a phenomenal job. I can't wait to get a PlayStation 5 at some point, and this will be one of the first games I pop in at that moment because that's how good this is looking. So stop ruining your own celebration time. Just praise the game. Post all the pictures you want. Exactly. Post all the videos you want. Celebrate it, man. Stop worrying about what other people think. It's time. It's time to get over that fact. So, yeah, I can't say enough about it. I'm really impressed by what Guerilla's done here. And Aloy looks fantastic. The facial expressions that they've gone through and shown
a lot better than the first game.
Much better than the first one. Oh,
still some dead eyes. I know we're really particular on that. We have conversations about that all the time. It's tough. It's the toughest thing. It's better. It's better. It's much better than the first game was. It's much better than the first game. Everything about it. Again, just all the mechanics that they've added to this. The style is off the charts for me. Again, it's not going to be for everybody. I get it, but I love the style of gameplay. And I think that people get wrapped up with Horizon for sure. That it can sometimes feel like slow gameplay, but look, you can honestly get her to the point where you can play how you want to play. Yes. You can be full frontal you do the attack like mode on most things, right? You had to be careful with the T-Rexes in the first game, right? Yes. But if you had built your traps, right, and you had kind of gone and scouted ahead, and you planted your traps properly, you could lure those T-Rexes by attacking full force and lure them into those traps and take them down, right? Because a lot of people don't realize in Horizon, when you're fighting these monsters, a lot of them will drop their weapons as you take them apart. Their weapons will drop, and you can pick those up as special weapons. Fasten them up. Bro, you can do some massive damage with those weapons. So if you do a little bit of scouting, a little bit of planning, you can lure them into a trap by being aggressive. You don't have to do all stealth. You don't have to look for all, the protective spots. You can flat out attack, but you just have to plan in advance. And that's what I'm seeing in this game. They've taken it to another level with everything she's got at
her disposal for attacking these different monster types. So, they've added in the flying mechanic, which they said originally could not be done on PS4. Hey, guess what? A few years later, they figured it out. Guess what? That's what developers do, right? Yep. They figure out the tech and say, look, this is how we can make this happen even on last gen hardware. So now we've got flying, which looks crazy good. I love how she grapples the pterodactyls or whatever they call them in this one. And she grabs on and she flies. Dude, that stuff is awesome to me. I that was something I was hoping for in the first one and never got, but now they've got it. They've got it all figured out. PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, doesn't matter. We can fly. So again, Guerilla Games taking the next step. Love watching these developers as they grow, especially, again, these developers that have been around, done a lot of different things. For them to take that next step, each game that they put out, I love it, man. So hats off to Guerilla, hats off to Sony. They definitely have a home run here. This is going to be in Game of the Year consideration for sure, as it should be. Again, there's going to be some stiff competition this year. So real stiff competition if everything kind of lands the way we think it's going to, but it should still be there, and it's deserved. So again, celebration time all the way around. Love to see it. For everybody else out there, again, if you're playing into the console war narrative from the Xbox side because you're an Xbox fanboy and you're laying into the PlayStation fanboys because they don't have their 90 plus Metacritic banger that they all say that they have to have in order for it to be credible. Well, guess what? You're just feeding the beast that is this console war. And if you're the PlayStation side of things, and instead of celebrating the game, praising everything that's going on, and instead you're wasting your energy attacking other human beings for having a different opinion on your game, and that somehow brought the score down to an 89 or 88, and that's just not acceptable. Guess what? Get some help over here too as well, because you're doing nothing but feeding that console war narrative and showing that honestly everything that we talk about you actually are that type of person who brings negative energy into this industry that right now is exploding with nothing but goodness and nothing but good stuff coming our way. You're just bringing that down, and you're bringing down other people's enjoyment, or at least trying to, and you're ruining your own self internally with all of that negative energy. So
that's what it really is. Yeah.
That's what it is. I that's all I can say at the end of the day. So again, love what you did, Guerilla. PlayStation, another huge win out the gates early in the season. So good for you as well. Love to see it. And I love the people posting the pictures and videos. HR Bomber, 100%. Shout out to him. HR Bomber. He was like, you guys are going to get sick of me just posting photos. And I jumped right in and I said, nah, man, you said I love photo mode as much as you do. Keep posting your photos, because that's what I'd love.
So y'all better than me. Y'all better than me, man. See, because I just, that never, yes, I appreciate a good looking game. I of course, I appreciate a good looking game, but to me, it's more so the gameplay. I'm so enthralled in playing the game at that point where it's just like I can't just stop here, take photos of everything, and then kind of go from there.
I get it,
but I completely understand. I completely understand. Especially when you have that experience. You've been doing this for such a long time, and again, that's part of the reason why we do the upcoming games in the This Day in Gaming segment, is because it's amazing to see where we have come to where we are now. Things used to be pixels on a screen. You used to be looking at Zelda top down, and now guess what? Zelda's in 3D, and you're behind them, and you're controlling them in this open world space, and everything is fully realized. And now we're complaining that it's not enough. That's crazy to think about. Again, you just got to be grateful for where we're kind of at right now. Things are only going to get better from here. Again, as we get further into the generation, if this is again another hint to what we can kind of expect, I think we're on an amazing ride, an amazing roller coaster. And the only thing that I want to preach here, and the Horizon Forbidden West is another excellent example, is to treat gaming as art. These devs spend years of their lives creating these Picassos, these whatever you want to call them, and for them to come out as well built as they are, it's an amazing thing. And then the whole bugs thing, it's all going to be subjective. Yes, it's hard to get away from. There's a lot of the time to where they're going to run into those things. They're not going to run into those things in-house, But once you ship a game, you get all these different consoles. Like again, Pong Steel has said it. I've said it. We've had experiences that other people have said, "Oh, it's not that great." Cyberpunk being the main one that we can go back to, and I'm only using that as a reference because it's gotten this recent update. And then we had no issues like that. Not like a lot of people did. And we had an amazing time with the game. To now where people are jumping back in and saying, "Man, this game is crazy." Which is why I also wanted to title this episode, Gamers Fear the Cyberpunk 2077 Effect, because it's a realization. It makes you second guess your purchases and makes you think, oh, I mean, should I spend this money on these games? And that's a reality, and that is a conversation to have for sure. Is there a level of bugs that is unacceptable? Yes, there definitely is, but everybody's experience is going to be different, and it's going to be 100% based off your personal opinion. If you didn't have interest in it, of course, you're going to be way more critical than somebody who had interest in it already, which is actually a perfect segue. Talking about Battlefield. Talking about a game that had bugs, talking about a game that we spoke here, and we've had others within our, within our community, in our circle, like Matt, for an example, who have also spoken to the same things. Six Slayer has also spoken to the same thing. 108 Dragon, shout out to my guy. We've all said similar things about what we were anticipating for Battlefield. And I felt like this was the perfect segue, mainly because we're going from somebody from Guerilla who did it right and was doing everything they needed to, and being upfront, into now someone, or I say someone, but EA, who still has not gotten the point. EA came out, and I'm gonna go through the article and everything. But essentially they came out and said that, Halo Infinite was the reason why Battlefield 2042 did not do well. A little bit of
this wasn't public. So
right.
It was an investor.
Right. It was an investment call and everything. Yeah. Which I'm going to actually go down with. So yes, if you're a newbie out there, you're not somebody who's tuned in or whatever the case may be, this may not be information that's readily privy to you, but I do have the link to it that I will also have in the comment section, in the details below and everything, as I'll usually always try to do. So you can definitely go look at this information. This is going to be coming from Eurogamer.net. But before I get into that, one of the key things that me and Pong both said here, I felt a little bit more strongly about it for sure, but I was like, we both said that this is an opportunity for Battlefield to make the comeback of all time. Battlefield has always kind of been up and down, and I know there's a lot of people who say, well, Battlefield always comes out broke. It has some aspects. After Battlefield 3, and I definitely after Bad Company 2, that's when it became more prevalent to me at least, that bugs for them were becoming an issue, or that the Frostbite engine itself was becoming an issue. Because up until that point, they were coming out pretty solid. Yeah, they were having games, but having issues and bugs and everything else, but it wasn't anything outside of the normal expectation. Battlefield 2 was great. Online multiplayer game only. Battlefield 3 was great. Online multiplayer game only, if I'm not mistaken. Bad Company 2 came out. Bad Companies came out. They had the story and then also multiplayer, and they both were fantastic games. It's gotten to a point to where something else, something deeper is going on. And at this point, it has to be the engine that they're using. Because time and time again, since Battlefield 4, they have seemingly run into this issue on release to where the bugs are kind of unbearable. Whether it be loadout bugs, whether it be connection bugs, whether it be hit detection, whatever the case may be. And none of that is good. You never want to jump into a game like Battlefield 2042 where on release you're like, man, is the hit detection off? You never want to experience that, especially in a game that you're being charged $70 for. I didn't have to pay $70. Shout out to EA and their service. Shout out to you guys. EA Play Pro. But you're paying $70 for $120. $70, $120 for an online only game, for a multiplayer only game, and you're having hit detection issues. You're having loadout issues. You're having connection issues. You're having issues with your server browsers. There's a multitude of different issues. You're having graphical issues. People's screens are tearing. And there's graphic bugs that are going on. All the things, like, you marketed the game really well.
People were hyped.
Like, the videos you put out is exactly what I would expect from Battlefield. We're amazing, on point. But then you release a game that's not of that same caliber of content or that same quality. And it's unfortunate because this is the one opportunity that I think Battlefield will ever have to kind of it's inched itself over a Call of Duty. Now, I can't say, it's going to inch itself over Halo, because Halo's a different game. I can't compare Halo to Call of Duty. They're two different games. One's a space shooter. One's a little bit more realistic, even though that's kind of debatable too. But one's a little bit more modern, and it kind of goes back in time and this, that, and other thing. A little bit more realistic, with the other one's a complete space shooter. So it's kind of hard to compare. It's apples and oranges for sure, at least to me. But Battlefield, I think Battlefield and Call of Duty is still that same thing, where now it's not apples to oranges, more like apples and bananas at that point, but it's still kind of similar to each other, because they do play on that whole modern feel or the war feel, you know what I'm saying? So it definitely plays with those strengths. And this is definitely one of those opportunities, because, that was the whole thing with Battlefield. They were doing things that Call of Duty could not do. And that's what makes Battlefield unique. The open world battles, the expansiveness, the, me and Pong getting into the game and capturing points point by point, us just wrecking shop, killing people, getting into a groove, getting into the tank, getting tank commander style, tank commander Pong, getting it in, blowing people up, I'm fixing them, I'm throwing out healing packs, keeping track of yourself on the scoreboard, whatever the case may be. That's what made Battlefield unique, is that, damn, and we're in a war right now, but look at what we're doing. Look how we're impacting this war. Whereas Call of Duty doesn't necessarily have that. I know they do have a mode now in the most recent Call of Duty, I believe. I don't know if it's attached to Warzone or if it's just connected to Modern Warfare itself. I believe it may be just connected to the Modern Warfare multiplayer itself, where it's like Battlefield-esque, but it's not quite the same, right? It's unfortunate to me, because they really missed something that they could have taken advantage of. And then for them to also come back and say the following. Again, coming from Eurogamer.net, and it goes as follows. EA believes Halo Infinite contributed to the dismal sales of Battlefield 2042, which is crazy to think about either way. In a company town hall meeting with employees, EA acknowledged the disappointing launch of Battlefield 2042 and discussed plans to improve the game and franchise going forward, thanks to Xfire. Now, I think if anything, what's going to put Battlefield in the right direction now is Vince Zampella. The reason I say that, if you guys haven't looked at interviews, if you haven't heard this man talk, if you're not familiar with the name, we're talking about Titanfall, COD. He's the reason why COD is as big as it is right now. Him and his team. I won't just give it to him, but he's one of the major influences of why COD is as big as it is right now. Until the guy that got pushed out of it. But if there's anybody who's going to be able to turn around this ship, it's definitely going to be Vince. I think he could definitely get right all the wrongs and everything, but it's going to take time.
Vince we trust. Let's hope so.
It's definitely going to take time, especially with EA putting out another game that up front is not doing well. It's egregious to some points. Kind of like coming off the heels. You would think they would have learned after coming out with Battlefront 2 and doing the egregious things that they did with that, as far as the loot boxes and the technical issues that we're having, that they would kind of be like, all right, let's pay attention a little bit more to detail. But excuse me if I say her name wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pong. But Laura Miele.
That's what I went with. I went with Mealy. So
Mealy?
yeah.
Laura Mealy. I'll say Miele because it kind of makes an E, whatever. Laura Miele, EA's chief studios officer, said the company failed to meet the expectation of our players and also clearly missed our own expectations. Well, wasn't there a rumor that, or isn't there a rumor that the devs asked for more time, and
Correct, sir.
you guys gave them 3 weeks or less.
Correct, sir.
That's neither here or there. Again, that's a rumor.
What title did they give her to, by the way, in this article?
Chief Studios Officer.
Wrong. She is now COO. She's been COO since October 21st, October 2021.
Okay.
I noticed all the articles that was her old position. She is now actually Chief Operating Officer of Electronic Arts. So even more.
Perfect. Yes. So that makes it worse, actually, which is not good in this scenario.
And she's been with the company for almost 15 years, by the way.
You're the Chief Operating Officer. So just take this perspective from the Chief Operating Officer. Identifying the reasons for the game's failure, Miel attributed parts of the blame on the huge ambitions for the project. Okay, which I can understand. You guys were trying to do a lot. Yeah, this was going to be a battlefield that you were going to support for years to come, and then there was a lot of potential there. We said the same thing on release. Like, man, this server browser, it's customizable. I can throw in guns from any time period. I can do this. I can do that. I mean, we even play some of the Bad Company 2 in Battlefield 2042. And we're like, damn, man, this feels pretty good. Things felt right, but. Combined with the global pandemic, which created unexpected variables in the development process. Now, you could have stopped there and we would have completely understood. You were going big, pandemic slowed you up. Gotcha.
You should have still delayed it then.
You should have still delayed it then. And that's the case. 100%. Miel also said that EA received a lot of feedback concerning bugs in unpolished areas of the experience. There was also a substantial amount of positive feedback from players. Okay. Following the game's launch and rollout of the day one patch, the game was stable and the early critical reception was good. Was it?
I mean, critical reception was good.
Okay.
It was decent. It was decent. It wasn't great.
She said
but
good.
It was decent. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay. Go on to say, however, Battlefield was then affected by the launch of Halo Infinite, Miel said, as unfavorable comparisons were made between the Xbox shooter and Battlefield 2042, with Halo perceived as a much more polished title. Now, this is the crazy part. If you didn't think that was crazy, Miel acknowledged the companies historically had bug issues with DICE games at launch, but said the bug count of Battlefield 2042 fell into the range EA expected when compared to other launches. The company therefore believed the issues would be manageable. To that, I have this to say, and then I'm going to pass it off to my brother from another Pong. What year are we in? 2022 now, right? Game came out in 2021. End of 2021. We live in the digital era. YouTube's bigger than ever. Social media is bigger than ever. You thought it fell in an acceptable level? This tells me that there wasn't enough quality tests, QTs being done. And that the game should have been pushed out. When your devs come out and say, because now that I can only imagine how frustrated the devs are, because now the devs have been getting attacked about over these things, which I can never agree with. That's never okay. I can tell you right now, as someone who's created anything, graphical content, graphic design, made websites and things like that, I would never want to put out bad content to somebody. Now, my boss or somebody who's over me or has more of the control or say so, saying that, oh, you need to push this out, and me telling them, oh, well, I need some more time. They're saying that that's not acceptable, and they're getting pushed out anyway, and somebody being unhappy with the product, that's on the top brass. That's not necessarily on the devs themselves. It's not on the devs themselves, especially if the rumors are true that they asked for more time and they were told, no, here's a few weeks to get it together. 6 months for this game? I think if the game would have released in the current state that it's in now, day one, it would have been received so much better. It would have been so many, Battlefield could have had this turn that they needed. It didn't have to release at the end of 2021. They forced it to release to meet financial goals and to make sure they hit their quarterly goals or whatever else the case might be. Because it's blatantly obvious that they had plenty of pre-orders and everything else like that, or there wouldn't be over 200,000 people that are signing a petition to try to get their refund, which again, kind of like I've heard you say earlier in the week, I believe you said it on with you and Mav, that I'll never agree that you should ask for a refund for a game that you fully invested into. I mean, you have that. There's a reason why they give you X amount of time. And then, at least on Xbox, at least with Microsoft, they give you a certain amount of time to play the game. And then if you don't like it, you can refund it. After that time, hey man, you made the investment. It is what it is. Not to say that I don't understand and I feel you and cool. I got you. But I think that just speaks to another side of the conversation, that people are so, what's the term for it? People expect a lot. People are so
entitled.
Thank you. I don't know why that couldn't come up. People are so, I've used it so many times, but I couldn't think of it right there. People are so entitled in 2022 that you feel like things have to be perfect or it's dead. And unfortunately, we do kind of live in that era to where an acceptable amount of bugs for you internally, who have no idea what gaming is, you're just upper brass and you're looking at the numbers, you're like, yeah, whatever, you need time out, who cares about time? Put the game out. It's acceptable enough. We'll fix it. We're not in we'll fix it later era like we used to be back in the day. Back in the day, about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, you could release a game and fix it a month later, a couple months later, and it'd be 6 months later, and it'd be okay. We're getting further into a generation that's not going to happen, especially as a multiplayer game. Halo's polished, and it's having an issue retaining players. Why? Because battle royales and these other free-to-play games are offering things, and I'm telling you right now, is because of the amount of money that they're making from them, they're offering things that these other games are not, and that's a constant stream of content. Yes, and at first when they come out, and Halo's going to see the same thing. I think once we get into season 2, that's when we're going to start seeing things really, really pick up for them. And Halo can afford that. Why? Because Halo is a brand. Battlefield at this point is a brand that has been associated with bugs, with issues, with having a hard time maintaining an audience. And this has happened after Battlefield 4. This wasn't really a conversation for Battlefield until up to Battlefield 4, until some of these other issues that EA is starting to have. It hasn't been an issue until that point, but now it's like, it's the first thing that comes to mind. I don't know, it's questionable. And it's crazy to think about the fall of Battlefield, because Battlefield was one of those things that was like top echelon. You want to talk about first-person shooter, you want to get in the war, you want to fly jets, helicopters, you want to get in the field, you want to be able to push point to point, you want to jump in with a group of buddies and really take over a game or whatever the case might be. I feel like you had an impact. Battlefield was that game. And it was casual friendly too. That's the other thing. You didn't have to be a pro at Battlefield. You just had to know how to work the game. And there's a lot of different things like the class system and other things that they've kind of removed out of Battlefield that have kind of made it feel like, I don't know about this. I don't know if that was the right decision, because you've taken away some of the value of Battlefield. But to me, for them to make this comparison and say, oh, Battlefield failed, 2042 failed because Halo was too polished, and you're the COO of a company, it's not okay. It shows me that you blatantly don't know what the fuck's going on. You don't. You're clueless. And that you're probably not the person, and maybe I'm spoiled by people like Phil, people like Sarah Bond, who actually are gamers or are influenced by, because they're around it all the time. That's what they care about, and you can feel the effect. Maybe I'm jaded by that. So that's what I always got to compare it to. But when you make, like, if you wouldn't have said, oh, if Halo wasn't as good, 2042 would have been all right. This article, I can see, okay, I can understand where you're coming from. But then I still would have had to ask them, why did you delay the game? You look over to Xbox, you want to make this comparison, but you look over to Xbox and you say, well, Xbox told, 343 asked for more time. Xbox said, as much as they didn't want to, because that's the one thing that you have to think about. I can tell you right now that the upper brass of Xbox did not want to push the game back. They did not want to. At least that was the energy that I got from it. They were wanting to release that game PvP, multiplayer only if they needed to. Now it's different conversations. We don't know how well that could be put together at that point, but for the better of the game, for the better of the IP, they pushed it back a year, and it's done nothing but Halo great favors. Now, the little conversations in between is something completely different, but if you're going to make that comparison, then why didn't you do the same thing? If you needed that time, if your team needed that time, then why didn't you do that? Because you were more so focused on the numbers than you were anything else, and that's unfortunate. And as a COO, it's hard for me to take you serious from this point forward, because I don't know if it wasn't for Vince stepping into this situation, I would say that Battlefield is dead at this point, because there'd be nobody else that can creatively lead it back to at least a point that it could be successful again, because obviously they do not care. And because of games like Titanfall 2 or Titanfall overall, where Vince is we've heard Vince blatantly say, I'm not using that fucking Frostbite engine, dude. You're like, y'all can go kiss my ass or whatever the case. Now, we don't know if that's the way that it was actually stated. And the same thing with Fallen Order and everything else. We don't know if that's necessarily how it went, but obviously he wears some form of big boy pants within that corporate kind of setup to kind of throw his weight around and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. You either like it or take or walk away. And if it wasn't for him, I'd be very worried about Battlefield at this point. I do feel like it can make a comeback, but man, when you have your COO coming out and saying crazy shit like this, it really makes you question a lot of things. It makes you question the industry. It makes you question how upper management thinks about things. But again, it's not like it's a surprise. We see this all the time in a multitude of different industries. So, Pong, how do you feel about her, Miss Meal coming out as a COO of EA and saying, yo, Battlefield failed because Halo was just too great. And, the pandemic and, we knew it had bugs, but it was acceptable. We felt like it was okay. We would fix it later. And just not being in tune with the future or where gaming is at today, or where the industry is at today. What does kind of tell you, and how do you feel about this whole scenario, man?
This is wow. Look, I don't understand how in 2022 a CEO who has been in this industry for a very long time, her history goes well beyond even EA. She was with other studios, but she's got 15 years at EA. She has been through the battles, pun intended, with Battlefield, through all the iterations. And to get to this point in 2022 and to see a game like Cyberpunk just come out and get blasted for what they chose to do. And obviously it's not apples to apples, but it's very close as far as what kind of response you're going to get from your community if you try to pull something like this. And when you've got your devs coming to you in 2021 at this point saying, hey, we don't think this game is ready to launch. We're going to need, I've heard, anywhere from 3 to 6 months to fix this. Please give us 3 to 6 months. Again, we'll never know true stories internally. So again, a lot of this is assumptions. This is what we do here, but we have to go by kind of what the word is on the street. It's not always 100% accurate. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying this, but let's just assume for this talking point, because obviously we've seen it now live with this game, that it's probably pretty close to reality that the devs were probably saying this game is not ready to launch. We need more time. For all of those things to happen, to see what Halo went through and to see Phil and his team make the courageous decision to delay Halo for another year to make sure that they could get things right, fix things that they thought needed to be fixing, polish that multiplayer. And to have that example in front of you as well, along with the failure of Cyberpunk, and for you as a COO to come out here and say, now, again, EA has come out and go, oh, this is all out of context. This was just internal reflection. This was just some tough internal reflection that we had to do.
Got that article too.
We were not making excuses. This was internal bullshit. Okay. These are paragraph quotes from her from this call. Again, if it was a sentence, okay, that can be taken out of context in the grand scheme of what was being talked about, but we've got paragraphs here of her quotes, and that's not what was happening here. This was an investor call. Yeah.
They quote saying, this is from PC Gamer. These stories, quote, these stories are not accurately capturing the discussion in the context, which was an in-depth and very humble internal conversation about the recent Battlefield launch. EA Communications VP John Resberg said in a statement sent to PC Gamer, it was about key learnings and actions we are taking, not blaming external factors. Although, okay, that's exactly what you did.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. That again, it's BS. Again, when you come out and say, well, Halo was so polished that our game looked worse next to it. Look, you're making an excuse, okay? You're flat out making an excuse for your stumbles, okay? Right. That's period. But again, in 2022, to have a COO making these types of comments, whether it's a humble internal review, right, or whether it's flat out making excuses, at the end of the day, your devs are coming to you and saying that we need more time. You turned a blind eye. You said analytics say we're well within the acceptable range of bugs, and we can deal with it with patches, and we're going to be okay. You turned a blind eye. You turned your back on your own devs internally and said, no, we have to push this out the door. All that was dollars. Okay. Right. That's all that was at the end of the day. Again, had this conversation last night, had this conversation on Thursday. Small teams like a Techland, Dying Light 2, a lot of people are pointing to that. Okay. A team that is one bad game away from shuttering their studio potentially. Those I understand that at some point the game has to come out, right? You can't keep delaying something over and over again because your resources are limited, right? Exactly. I get those factors when a team like that says, no, we got to go and we're going to fix it. And we're just going to hope that we can fix it in time, or it's in good enough state that people play it and love it, and we'll fix it as we go. And that's what Techland did with Dying Light 2. They were in development hell for years, okay? But back to Battlefield. EA is big enough. They are big enough with enough money to go ahead and delay their games, right? They should have learned their lesson with Anthem. Okay, they should have learned their lesson internally with Anthem. Why did you not have these humbling internal reflections after Anthem?
Oh my God, good point. Such a missed opportunity, bro. Oh,
right. Right. So again, even if you're trying to tell me that you're just having internal why are you having internal reflections now after Anthem after all this time? That should have been one of your biggest moments of internal reflection, saying, hey, we're not going to let this happen again. If the game is not in an acceptable state, we will not launch our game because we have the money. Yes, the investors aren't going to be happy. Yes, our stock may take a dip because we don't make the forecast for that quarter, right? Yes, that may happen, but for the long-term health of our development teams, for the long-term health of our franchises, our key franchises like Battlefield, for our internal health of the company, long term, we're going to make those tough decisions now. And yet they didn't do it here with Battlefield. Again, it boggles my mind, Steel, that we can sit here as armchair CEOs, as just regular dudes or girls or whoever it was, because there's a lot of people talking about this in a lot of different places last year. We can all sit back as just regular old gamers who have just gamed for a long time and had interest in this industry, and we can see and forecast the future through our crystal ball of what's going to happen if you launch Battlefield in a bad state. We saw this coming from a mile away, Steel. How can people and again, I'm just, again, it's more than just her, but she's the one with the quotes, right? She was the one speaking on it. It's more than just her, but how can upper management and people in positions of like chief operating officer not have that self-awareness and not understand what's going to happen, but we can. Right. You're getting paid millions of dollars by one of the biggest publishers in the entire world in the video game industry, and you can't see the crystal ball of what's coming if you do this to a title like Battlefield. That's unacceptable. Like I said, I would feel like I need to resign my position if I miss the mark that much. Right. That's crazy to me that you can sit there and not understand. You knew Halo was coming. Okay. You might not have known what date it was coming, but you certainly knew the window it was coming in, and it was going to be right around your Battlefield launch. We talked about that on our shows as well. You know what? If Battlefield isn't ready to hit and stick that landing, maybe they might not want to be there, right? Because you got Call of Duty and you got Halo. And even though Call of Duty's hype was down, and even though the numbers have continued to slip for Call of Duty, guess what? It's still the number one selling game, because guess what? People are going to go buy it no matter what. Okay. You had an opportunity this time around to bring Battlefield back to the forefront, perfectly positioned. Halo is a sci-fi shooter. It does not appeal to everybody, and it's the king. And again, we all talked about the king was returning, but we also said that Halo, again, is in its own lane. Call of Duty this year decided to go back to World War II, which was a mistake for them. Everybody's tired and drained of World War II shooters, right? You positioned yourself with Battlefield going back to the modern, a little bit into the future, but not too far, a little bit in the future, but modern warfare, which everybody has been clamoring for. You positioned Battlefield correctly. The only thing you had to do was make sure that this game came out in a good to great state. That's all you had to do. Again, I'm having fun with Battlefield. I like Battlefield. I didn't have a lot of the problems that people were having in the beta. I was hyped for the game still, but I still was waving the warning flag saying, look, that's me. I admit who I am.
Right.
I will be that guy, the last guy standing in Battlefield playing with bots at some point if you guys don't do the right thing by this game. And you still could not give your devs 3 to 6 more months. You turned around when they came to you and said, you got 3 weeks. Are you freaking kidding me right now? And then you wonder why you're in the place you were in. Steel, these numbers don't lie, brother. These numbers don't lie.
No.
Steam counts right now, Steel. Steam counts today.
That's Steam.
Players right now on Battlefield 2042, 3,340.
That's not good.
24-hour peak, 3,492.
The game is dead. It's a dead game.
Brother, let me boggle your mind. Shout out to Maddie Burns in the chat, who's a Battlefield 5 fan. Battlefield 5 that came out to absolutely terrible. Like, there was so many different factors against Battlefield 5. And again, World War II setting that people don't want to play in. Battlefield 5 that got trashed before it was even should have been trashed for a lot of different reasons. There was Clown Show on one side trashing it because the females and all. You had everything. And then it came out and was broken so bad it was broken. People were just complaining nonstop about Battlefield 5. Battlefield 5 today, Steel. Players right now, 14,621. 24-hour peak, 27,826 peak in the past 24 hours. You have 9 times the players playing Battlefield 5 that you do Battlefield 2042, which was supposed to be your big, brand new, beautiful launch.
It's not good.
Horrible. Hey, this is 3 months after launch, brother. 3 months after launch. This is the state you're in.
The reason those stats are important. Elmer Fudd style. But the reason why those stats are important, yes, they're only Steam stats. Yes, that's PC. But Battlefield's originally a PC game. So if Battlefield, the new one, is not popping off on the way it should be, and it's at 3,000 to 4,000 players, and the last iteration of your game is doing better than your new version that people were excited for,
right?
That's not good.
No, it's not good at all. It's not good at all. Battlefield is salvageable, right? We've seen it time and time again. As much as people complain, over 200,000 people petitioning for refunds. It's in a bad state, but they do have some options here. I talked about this as well. Look, you turn this to free to play, which gives people the ability not only to come back, the people who may have paid for it, but if they do fix the game and it gets better, again, Steel, you, myself, Mav, every time we jump in, brother, Mav was just in the chat saying that it's making him want to play Battlefield now again, because every time we've jumped in, each patch has gotten better. But the last time we did jump in, bro, we had a fantastic time for like 4 or 5 hours. Like we were rocking out.
No bots. There was no bots, by the way.
No bots. We were just having a great time. It was a blast. Like everything is there. So the potential is there. So they make this free to play. They fix it. The people will come back if the word starts to spread that they've got it right. And then you also add as a free to play model, because there's so much competition in this time in place now, right? That's the other thing. Yeah, the old Battlefields did come out in different various states of broken, but they didn't have the competition that they do now. People's time now is much more limited, because back in the day, maybe you had 10 games that people were competing with. Now you got about 500 games that people are competing with, right? So there's so many different places people can go spend their time to play, but you get those people to come back. The word of mouth starts spreading. Free to play means that all their friends can jump in with no risk, right? And people will jump back into it to try it out, especially if you've got a group of friends playing together. Maybe some of them didn't buy it because of all the word of mouth that spread of how bad it was. Now you bring those people back in with the good word of mouth. There is an opportunity for Battlefield to come back. Battlefield 5 shows that right now. Okay, Battlefield 5 was a dead game as well. Battlefield 5 was awful. Look, people don't understand. It wasn't until the final piece of DLC, the Pacific maps that they dropped, where people started going, you know what? Battlefield, this is what should have been launched, was the Pacific maps, first of all. But look, it's now in a good state. I actually am enjoying myself in Battlefield 5. And now look, after all this time, 24-hour peak of 27,826 people is impressive for a game that old, that started out that cold. Battlefield 5 came back. Battlefield 2042 could come back. They got work to do. I said it before. I would personally, if I was them right now, I would lean into that portal mode. I would have my teams working on converting over more of those old maps to portal from all the classic Battlefields, because that could be your spot. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug, Steel, as we all know. And if you leaned into that portal and you expanded that portal out so people could jump in and play more of those maps that we all fell in love with, from the Bad Companies to the Battlefield 3s to the Battlefield 4s, if we can go back and start playing more of those maps, more people will show up again, because Portal is freaking amazing.
That's what's crazy. You have all this access to previous games in one game, and you're failing. You're not doing well. That boggles my mind.
And yes, Ryan, that was my next point. You brought up the next point. The specialists, if you're going to fix the core of your game, the 2042 part, look, some of those maps are good. Okay. But they're not great Battlefield maps. Some of those maps are good, especially in the smaller player count.
Yeah.
I loved the big player count, but they did not do the maps well. Okay. They need to rework those maps. However, I agree, Ryan, if they went back, if they want to save 2042, a big change they could do would be to revamp the whole specialist thing. Right. I think that did take away from some of the feel of Battlefield. I understand why they did what they did, allowing you to mix classes together so that you didn't feel locked in. But at the same time, that was part of what made Battlefield special, right? If I was a medic, I was going in as a medic, right? That period. That was my job, right? That was my job. Now you give the opportunity for the specialists to jump in, everybody to have med pack. It just takes away from that role feeling that you had as a Battlefield, especially when you are playing in squads, right? Your squad, it doesn't feel as much like Battlefield anymore. And so I agree, if they want to fix the 2042 side, I would do away with the specialists or revamp the specialists so that those roles came back and were more important than they are now. Now everybody's kind of generic. Even though you're a specialist and you have a special ability, everybody's kind of generic because you can have any kind of loadout you want.
It feels pointless.
So,
yeah,
it really does. So that's what I would do there. I think it's salvageable. Like I said, I can't believe the COO said this, and I can't believe they're trying to make it even worse by saying, "Oh, well, that's not what we really meant to say." Bullshit. You made every excuse underneath the book. Again, the pandemic has been around. You guys took extra time for Battlefield, but yet you were unwilling to go the extra little tiny bit your devs asked for and give them another 3 to 6 months. Bro, let me tell you, had they gone and given them that extension, and we were talking about Battlefield. Yeah, and we were talking about Halo launches, does great. Halo's now got some of its own issues, which 343 needs to address. Call of Duty is now, again, surprisingly enough, just because Battlefield failed, Call of Duty is starting to suddenly gain a little popularity again, even though it's not the game anybody wanted. It's still there because it's Call of Duty, and it's starting to gain some because
Warzone.
More people shifted. Yeah, more people shifted back over there again. Look, but had that happen, and we were talking about Battlefield launching in the next couple of months, when there hasn't been a new shooter and there isn't going to really be a new first-person shooter out, it would have been the perfect time. And had they come out and stuck the landing, the delay would have been forgiven. People would have been fresh to jump back into Battlefield, and they could have really set the world on fire. Even though they missed what they thought was a prime window at the end of last year, they would have had this market alone at this point for them to launch a new Battlefield. That would have been a prime spot. They should have thought this out. I cannot believe, again, people getting paid a lot of money to think this stuff through could not see the writing on the wall. That scares the hell out of me. And again, this is a Battlefield fan. Again, I'm a guy who enjoys Battlefield 2042.
Yeah.
I'm almost level 50. Have I played it as much as I normally would? No, I haven't. Right. But at the end of the day, I still, every time we go into it, we have a great time. I've enjoyed the hell out of it. Again, there's things that need to be fixed, but they should have done what they needed to do to make that happen. So here we are, Steel. It's unbelievable. Again, EA, Ubisoft, Xbox, Sony, you guys want somebody to read the crystal ball for you. Maybe you need to get some regular guys on the ground. Steel and I are available. Okay. We won't cost you anywhere near COO. Okay. We won't. I promise. And I can do this stuff remotely. That's not a big deal. So we're for hire. Come check us out.
Yeah, 100%. Shizzle was bringing up a good point coming up the back end of the Battlefield conversation. I'm guessing Halo's hit the point to where it needs. It is in need of content like every other games as a service gets. It's like any other one of those free to play games where it's in its first season. It's not that great. It's trying to figure things out. And again, the other thing too is that the Halo fan base is extremely toxic. Again, Halo is the only game in existence that has to have everything on launch. Forge, multiplayer, story, custom matches, everything has to be flawless. Latency has to be perfect. It's the only multiplayer game. It's the only IP that has to do all these things day one. While The Last of Us can tease multiplayer for 3 years.
Well, okay.
Like I'm always gonna go back to this. Like I just am.
Yeah, I know you are. Because Last of Us was never meant to be a multiplayer. They just happened to hit upon something that
the first game came out with multiplayer. They promised the second game would have multiplayer.
Yeah, I know.
This game has both, and just because there's not
Halo's
Forge there,
built on the
like, come on, man. No,
I know.
I want to hear that.
But still, be real though.
But
be real. Out of all the things that the Halo community says was missing out of Halo, and again, I was one of those because I do miss the co-op. I put down Halo the campaign. Again, I'm a casual Halo fan, but I would be playing it if it was co-op because I'm sure a bunch of people here would be playing it, and I would be joining you guys in co-op, right? But had Forge launched with it, there would be content being produced from the community that would make this feel like would not make this content drought that everybody's complaining about feel a lot less if Forge was there, because there would be new stuff being created by this community constantly, right?
Yeah. I 100% agree. The lack of customization, again, that's something that attracts me, which is why I'm so willing to jump back into Destiny, at least if it's going to be for PvP, is the customization aspect. The fact, the number one thing that attracts me always back to Destiny is when I turn the game on, is seeing my custom character, especially how they have it now to where you can make your character look like however you want them to look. Whatever gear you have, as long as you've unlocked the gear at some point, you can make your character look however you want. Halo had a lot of that. Why does Master Chief Collection have all this customization options, but then Infinite doesn't? Why didn't you carry that stuff over? Again, like I've said here before, I think they were more focused on the core mechanics of the game than anything else. They were so focused on wanting to make sure that the story was going to be decent, that the multiplayer was going to be good, that everything else fell to the wayside. Is that an excuse? No, it's not. It's not okay. It's not acceptable. But I can also be honest to say, because I am biased, I can't say that it kind of, it is unfortunate as far as Halo goes. You know what I'm saying? Like it shouldn't have been that way. There should have been more attention to detail there, but the game is extremely polished. That campaign is some of the best I've played to date as far as Halo goes. Again, I'll be honest and say maybe I'm biased in that because I am a Halo fan, but they are doing things coming off the back end of the Battlefield discussion that they're not a reason to blame. Obviously, they have their own issues too. There's a content drought. People are dropping off. It is what it is. And until season 2 comes out, where you release Forge, where you release co-op, you're not going to really see an up in the player count till that happens. Because people are waiting for that. And it is what it is. It just kind of shows you the era that we're kind of living in right now. Like Matt Barnes said, Halo is a 10-year game. It's gonna spike. Destiny has its moments too. Again, content is key for especially when you go free to play. And Destiny's far from free to play. Like far from, especially if you're only playing the PvP content, you still got to play for the game. So I have a lot of hope for Halo. Halo has time, again, since it is so different. Even if Exo Mecha came out or whatever other futuristic shooter came out, it's not going to be Halo. So Halo is always going to have a place to stay. And as long as they've shown the dedication, Joseph Staten, I have 100% faith in him. As far as the vision goes for Halo and everything, I think it's going to be in its glory. Again, like I've said from the beginning, we're gonna look back a year from Halo's release coming up this November. You're gonna be like, damn, a year later, this game is exactly what it needed to be, and it's gonna be an amazing thing, at least to me. So, Shizuo said Battlefield lost me when they stopped making campaigns. I'm just not into PvP anymore. I feel you, Shizno, but like I tell other people, unfortunately or fortunately, Battlefield wasn't a campaign-focused game. It never was. And I hated the fact that they took away from multiplayer, because that's when they started having issues. When they made, we need to put a campaign in there. Aside from Bad Company, because that's some of the best story content in a Battlefield game. That you can experience.
That was the other big mistake. One of the old Battlefield company guys came out, one of the old devs.
Yeah.
And he came out and said that he kind of voiced his opinion on everything that was going around Battlefield, and he was talking about how sad it was to see the state that it's in, and that how much he wishes they would have gone back to Bad Company again, that the time was right.
Bro, it's even the destruction, like even 2042 doesn't have the destruction that Bad Company 2 has.
Yep, the Levolution.
Oh my
God. Bro, that was the
God.
other big thing when they came out with this, and they said they were redoing the DICE engine. We didn't really talk about the DICE engine part of this, right? But the DICE engine, it can be absolutely gorgeous, right? Mm-hmm. There are that snow level, the ice level in Battlefield 2042 is absolutely drop dead gorgeous, right? It is a beautiful, beautiful map. The DICE engine has the ability to be special, but if they are honestly going to sit here and say that they're still having problems with the engine that they themselves created in-house after all these years, if you're still saying that is part of the problem, and again, I don't know if that's true or not, right?
Yeah.
But if that's true at this point, when do you wave the white flag and say maybe we need to switch engines for Battlefield because it just ain't working out?
Or hire more people.
Right, or hire more people, or figure it. But this is your own developed engine, and you're still saying you're having problems creating the game that the engine was built for originally. You're still having problems in 2022 after all these years. But the thing was, when they were hyping this game, Steel, and they were showing off, remember they were talked about Levolution is going to be on another scale with the new improved DICE engine. No, all you did was create giant set pieces that get destroyed, which is awesome. Some of those things are freaking the rocket and all that. That's amazing. But you took away all the regular Levolution. When you were talking about that, I had this idea in my head. The Bad Company 2 days. Again, I always go back to this because it's my favorite thing in the world, using the sniper with the mortar rounds, right? The mortar setup was the best ever. But because you could level those small buildings on top of people, that was awesome. So when they were talking about this new Levolution system, because the DICE engine was getting upgraded, it was going to be for next gen, it was going to be amazing. I had this idea in my head that we were going to basically be able to level the entire freaking playing field if we wanted to. Like if the battle went on for long enough, all the buildings are gone, right? You were going to get to like basically a flat land, right? At some point. That's the picture I had in my head. And what do we get? No, we get these big set pieces. Again, it's awesome. It looks incredible. The storms coming through, amazing. The destruction they cause, awesome. But the regular stuff, like now you shoot a rocket into a building, and most of the time you don't see any destruction. Well, you just see an explosion and there's no destruction. Like that's like 4 steps back. That's not like 1 step back. That's like 4 steps back from the old Battlefields. That's part of what made Battlefield great. So again, that's just another issue. Like, no, you guys pump this out. If the DICE engine isn't working anymore, why don't you take Vince Sampella's word for it and say, maybe this isn't the engine we thought it would be when we originally created. Maybe, just maybe, we need to give up on it and move on to something else, because shit ain't working, man. It really isn't.
No, because there's no reason why there should be an objective in a building and everything else is destroyed around the building, right? But I can't level the building out. So people are just hiding, That was the whole point that made the Levolution so great. People can't hide. No more hiding. No, if you're on a point, I will come destroy the whole building, and we would just be fighting for an open area. If you really want to do all that, and that's what made Battlefield great. It brought the realism. It brought that extreme things to it. It's such a missed out opportunity. All right, where do we go from here, man?
You want to?
Let's see.
What do you want to do? You want to jump into the Jez stuff, or you want to do? What do you want to do?
Where do you want to go? 2:30 in, or we want to take it? Real quick. I do want to speak a little bit on, because I think, we'll definitely jump into the Jez stuff, speaking on Contraband and everything, and also how amazing it was for him to be team up with Archie and everything on this World of Gaming podcast. Is an amazing thing. But real quick, if you don't know what Ubisoft's direction is, I think I can openly tell you that their games as a service or having microtransaction games is going to be a continuing factor. They just came off of reporting that Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the first Ubisoft game to hit 1 billion, first since franchise original release in 2007. So that's something that gives you something to think about. That's crazy. First one to hit this. And then not only that,
let's be real, Steel. They want to be sold too.
Oh.
They want to be bought.
They don't know what they want. They're like, we have so much valuable things.
They're ready. They're ready.
They were like, we got a lot of valuable things here, and we would like to stay independent, but if somebody wants to buy us, we'll entertain the idea. No, you want to be bought. Just say that.
Yeah. So you want the big money coming your way.
So you can focus on making games. That's exactly what you want. And let's see how this Ubisoft Plus kind of deal, as we know, is rumored. It's pretty much put in place, except it just isn't in place yet. As far as Xbox goes and everything, how that teams up with Game Pass, it's going to be interesting to see. But Ubisoft reported their most profitable quarter to date, with regular updates, seasonal events, cosmetic updates, and DLC coming to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I was listening to Lupa last night because I was under the assumption that the new DLC, the Ragnarok DLC, was going to be part of the season pass that you bought with Valhalla. That was my impression. And to hear that they're wanting you to pay $40 for this new DLC is kind of messed up to me. Again, I definitely understand it. They're going to make their money somehow, but man, you just had people pay, like she used an example, she paid over, $120+ for the game. I know she has a little bit different currency and everything. I believe that would have been about a little bit more for us on our side, but either way, when you pay for the top tier of a game, you would expect, especially when they include the season pass and everything else, Destiny being the exception, because but even Destiny, at least when you buy the season pass for them, it does cover you. It does cover you for that year or two. It does. So that's cute. But for a game like Assassin's Creed, that's a single player focused game, and that's the main difference. Destiny's a shooter MMO. And Assassin's Creed is just it's not. It's a single player focused game where you're just getting more story, more content from other games, and everything's wrapping in.
And they admitted that this DLC started out as a part of the original package, which like they admitted that, but it just got too big, so they decided to make it a standalone. And charge you $40.
That's not cool, man. Like again, me coming from the PC space, that's nothing new to me. We've paid $60 for games, and then the expansion come out. You got to pay $40 for another disc to load into your computer to then download the DLC and then not ever use that disc again. So it's like, it's not like it's something that's new, but at the same time, it's like, but you just said you hit $1 billion. Why do you need to charge $40? Apparently what you're doing is working.
Well, that's part of it. That's part of that billion, right?
Now for sure. But this is outside of the billion now at this point, because it's not out yet. You know what I mean? So it's like, if your game is doing so well, why not just continue the practices that you were doing with the regular updates and seasonal content, cosmetic stuff, and the other DLC? You know what I mean? You know how good, how well you could have been put in the good graces of your players if this would have been part of your seasonal pass or whatever the case might be. Not much more they would have been wanting to spend more on whatever other content that you had there, as far as microtransactions go, skins, and anything else. Oh, that would have been, you could have got them to spend $40 easy. They were already doing it. Again, it kind of speaks to what we spoke to with Battlefield with EA, to where somebody's clueless. Somebody doesn't get it. Like, you can't play both sides of the fence. You can't say, oh, we're going to do microtransactions, but then we're also going to charge you for all these seasonal content and everything. Like, and other games have this same issue and everything, and we're going to run more and more into a similar issue as we get further into the future. Because I feel like there's going to be less and less tolerance for these things, because believe it or not, you could end up killing a game this way. And if they had if nobody buys this new DLC, then what? Are you going to make it free then? And then how are you going to reciprocate it back to the people who did invest? Same thing with Battlefield. Even if they made Battlefield free to play, how are you going to make sure the people who bought the game are compensated? So that doesn't seem like a big. Now, you don't have to, because again, like we say here, your investment is your investment. You got to plan that out, but you have to give the more that you can get in the players' good graces, as far as, and it's really a mind game that you're playing with people, right? You can never do it 100% right. Nothing that you ever do is going to be, everybody's going to love it, but at least you can show people that you care about the common consumer, which is right now, that's not the way that it's coming across. Pong, how do you feel about Assassin's Creed Valhalla being the first Assassin's Creed game since the original 2007 to hit $1 billion? That's crazy for a single player game, bro. I think you got it. You're muted.
I do. Professional podcasting, number one. Look, I think this just speaks to volumes about how popular Assassin's Creed is. As much as people like to say they don't like the change to Assassin's Creed and the direction they're going in. Again, I still enjoyed the Assassin's Creed. I still wish we had the old style Assassin's Creed as well. And I've said I wish they would actually split the two off, and I think you could do both. From an Assassin's Creed that's more action narrative driven, and you could do a stealth Assassin's Creed as well. I think you could do it. But at the end of the day, this $1 billion speaks to, hey, as much as people have been talking about Assassin's Creed, what they need to do, what they don't need to do, as much as people have been talking about open world fatigue. Look, people enjoy these games and they go and get what they want. Again, Ubisoft to me is the fast food of video games. Right? Yeah. I know what I'm going to get from a Ubisoft game. Right. Yeah. I'm going to enjoy it. Is it going to be the greatest steak of all time that I've ever had that I spent $200 on? No, it's not. But when I go get a Ubisoft game, do I know that I'm going to be satisfied? Do I know that it's going to taste good? Do I know that I'm going to say, hey, this is pretty damn good for what I got? Absolutely. That's what I'm going to get out of Ubisoft. And that's why I think a lot of people are. And like Doom, like Doom said, and Chizno saying in the chat, you get your money's worth. Even that $40, you're going to get your money's worth out of that expansion. Even if we don't think it's, necessarily good that they did that for the people that bought the season pass, at the end of the day, that's why people are still picking it up and buying it. That's why Lupa, for as much as she, was saying, hey, I don't like this, she bought it. She's a huge Assassin's Creed fan. She's going to enjoy the hell out of it. Right. It cost her $40, but it's not going to be a 5-hour romp, right?
No,
it's not
40 hours.
You're getting basically a full, like a normal full game. Ubisoft normal full games are hundreds of hours, right? We know you can spend that if you want to in those worlds. This is not going to be that, but you're going to get like a regular sized 40-hour plus game, right? That's for $40. So you're going to enjoy it. You're going to have a good time. But this $1 billion just shows again how popular Assassin's Creed is. And, Ubisoft did a fantastic job. Ubisoft has got a lot of issues. And again, they're floundering right now. They don't know what to do with their whole entire philosophy internally about where their games are going to go. We've heard that the new Assassin's Creed is going to be a games as a service style, open world, possibly even MMO style game where you're going to have drop in, drop out multiplayer stuff. You're going to have these, they're trying to find their place in this new industry. And yet they still turn around and do things like Assassin's Creed Valhalla that shows that they have built this empire, right? And that people are willing to pay the money for it no matter what. So I just hope Ubisoft realizes that they should not ruin what they've got going on. They can try new stuff. I don't have a problem. Again, I'm not one of those people that hates games as a service. Okay? I'm not one of those people. I think, again, for me, a lot of times I like them more because I can put into them what I want to put into them from a value standpoint. So I like having that option. If I like the game and I want to spend money in it, cool, I'll go spend money in it, right? I kind of enjoy that fact. However, I don't want to see single player games, one and done type scenarios, big open world, still one and done, where they don't keep adding and adding and adding and adding for 10 years. I like that. I don't want to see those go away either. Right. So I think Ubisoft needs to find their spot. But Assassin's Creed is definitely more popular than ever. And they knocked it out of the park by being one of the few companies, and credit and kudos to them. Again, we can't forget all their internal Activision-like issues that they have in HR. We just heard that people are still saying that nothing's been done, and that needs to be fixed. And I think that's kind of why they're up for sale in a way. Yeah. They're signaling, hey, come make us an offer. We'll listen, is because of that stuff. They've got a lot to fix internally, but somehow, despite all of that steel, despite all those issues, they were one of the few companies to support current gen when it launched, right? PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. They were one of the few companies, despite the pandemic that everybody pushed their games back a year or 2 years, Ubisoft was ready, out the gates, coming with Watch Dogs Legions. Now, Watch Dogs Legions had its problems. They had a terrible bug that cost them. But again, from a game standpoint, game looked great. One of the first games to come out with ray tracing, which looked absolutely gorgeous. One of the best versions of ray tracing to date, still on current gen. Go watch the Digital Foundry when they analyzed it. It's amazing, right? Came out with Watch Dogs Legions. They had Assassin's Creed Valhalla ready for current gen. Guess what? They updated it, right? To make sure that it was performing. Bro, 60 frames, right? 60 frames out the gate.
Even on the
they
Series
were ready.
S, yep.
Even on the Series S, they were ready. Ubisoft somehow through the pandemic put out some great games to begin this generation. And without them, it would have been really dry out here.
And those worlds are huge, bro. Like
huge,
no load
huge.
screens. You're
Right.
just traversing.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous, man. Gorgeous games. Details. Highly details. Photo mode in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Go like the fur and everything that they're wearing. Highly detailed stuff. Again, the talent of that Ubisoft has internally in those teams is some of the world's greatest. Okay, I have zero problems in saying that. Again, how they put out their games, the decisions they make with what style of games they're going with. We've heard behind the scenes there's a lot of internal fighting that goes on. Devs are upset. Upper management does not listen to them when they bring suggestions, when they say, hey, we want to go back to the old style games that we made. You know, we've heard that the leadership says, nah, we got to go forward with this new kind of style. So there's a lot of that going on there, but the talent, undeniable. So Assassin's Creed, it's one of the top franchises. It's one of the pillars of the video game industry at this point now. They've developed it, made it through the years. All the way back. I mean, I remember when I first heard about Assassin's Creed when Jade Raymond was the face of Assassin's Creed.
Crazy.
She was leading that team with this new franchise, and we first heard about it. And they went into detail about what they wanted to do with the game. And on my mind, I still remember reading the magazines going, oh my God, this is going to be so freaking amazing. And it was. And since then, they've iterated upon that for better or for worse. They've changed it up, but it's worked. So they continue to sell. $1 billion, shout out to them. Again, they are definitely
something right.
Yeah, they are, man. And I think that, like I said, now that they're signaling that, hey, come make us an offer, they're going to put a premium on there. They've got so much IP over there. They're going to put a premium on there, but there's got to be some people licking their chops to swoop up Ubisoft right now, especially if they're willing to listen to offers. It's going to take a decent offer, but they're not astronomical. Their stock prices fell. I detailed this on PM and the PM. I think it was, a year ago, February of 2021, they were sitting at right around $70 a share. And now they're at 44, I think, or somewhere in that neighborhood. They peaked in 2018. They were over $100 a share. So their value is, basically half over the past 4 years. They've halved their value. So it's not going to take an Activision Blizzard deal to get this done. It's going to take something reasonable, probably right around the $8 million range to get this done, which for a lot of people with all that IP and where you could take that IP as well, including Assassin's Creed, untapped potential is outrageous over there. There really could be some suitors showing up, especially with Xbox handcuffed right now with the Activision Blizzard deal. They really can't do anything about it. So if you want to step in and try to go after Ubisoft and not worry about Microsoft jumping in with a much larger, offer, because money is not a problem over on that side. So, But right now would be the time to do it because they're not going to try to acquire another publisher of Ubisoft stature while they're waiting for this Activision Blizzard deal to go through. So now's the time. So, but that's my thoughts. Again, I hope they do right by Assassin's Creed. I hope they don't go the Tom Clancy route and ruin the franchise by making some poor decisions. Even though I still enjoy Ghost Recon, it's not the Ghost Recon of old.
I need that. I need a remaster of Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter. Yeah. I need a remaster. Just give me a full remaster of that. That's all I need. That's all I want. And it would be fine. But I still want them to do something different with Assassin's Creed. I was so excited when they did some of that PvP stuff back in the day because there's so much potential there. So many things that could be done. Well,
chances are you're probably going to get that for sure, Seal. So chances are you're going to get that for sure. The PvP stuff.
I think that'd be dope, man. I mean, there's just so much that you could do with that. It has to be done right, but it could be definitely dope. But and then PK was saying HDR is over ray tracing. He says, and I'm kind of right there with you, man. I mean, HDR is something that's a little bit more attainable, it'll definitely easier to get. Ray tracing,
too resource heavy, right?
Still at this point, it just takes up too many resources, and those resources, like I will always say here, can be put into other places, more detail in the game, other things that you could do. I just don't feel like, it's cool and it's cute, but there's so many other things that you could do, and there's so many things that you can implement that can make these games much better than saying, hey, look at these shadows, look at this, where the water reflects. Who cares? It matters, but at the same time, we're not quite there yet.
No, not until we can get 60 frames in ray tracing.
At least not on console. Until we can get everything 60 FPS minimum, we do not need to be talking about ray tracing.
Right.
People are like, oh, 4K 30 ray tracing, that's perfect. No. You could have pulled that ray tracing out up to 60 and gave me some more detail somewhere else, right? That's where you could have made the shrubbery in Horizon Forbidden West be able to be destroyable or whatever else the case might be.
Now I will say the ray tracing sound, however,
now that
is cool. That in Forza Horizon 5, that has made an impression upon me, and I don't mind that. Like that's less resources intensive, but the way they're using ray tracing, and I heard that they used ray tracing sound now in Forbidden West as well, and people are already saying, God, the sound is amazing in this game, and people are like, yeah, that's that ray tracing sound, just like Forza Horizon used. They used ray tracing sound, which is cool.
I mean, again, there's other implementations that you could definitely use, and that's the thing. Like, how we got to stop falling for these marketing terms, but consumers are going to be consumers. I mean, again, people think their 4K TVs are true 4K, so
yeah, we get excited.
Yeah, it is what it is. All right, so this is probably going to be the last topic for today, and that is going to be some information about Contraband coming from Avalanche Studios. If I'm not mistaken, I believe I have that correct. I have that in my notes. Jez Contraband, journalist of Windows Central, came on to one of the community's finest, Boxing Burger, his show for World of Gaming.
Yeah, which I was a part of a couple weeks ago. Amazing new show from good old Archie, Mr. Boxenberger himself from Germany. Go check him out if you guys haven't checked out his content. Some of the best videos you will ever see. And now he started his own weekly podcast, which is amazing. Right. And he's already had some great guests on there, including myself. But he had Jez on this week, which was awesome. So,
right, exactly. So yes, he went on to Boxing Burger's show. Definitely check out World of Gaming if you haven't. He definitely does good work out that way. But I thought it was an amazing thing for him to go on someone within the community who isn't like a big name or whatever the case might be, because this is definitely information he could have left for his own show that he does with Randolph Thor. Shout out to the Xbox 2, some of the biggest motivation for us here, and just some great people. But he definitely could have left that for his own personal show to get some traction there, get some hype. But with him going on to Archie's show, Boxing Burger show, he's kind of pulled some attention. Even people like Video Games Chronicle, where I'm going to be pulling this information from to kind of set it up before I pass it off to Pong and everything. It's crazy to think that he has that kind of play, has that kind of pull, and to see him go to somebody locally more than just a big name or just keep it to himself, I think it's an amazing thing. I also think it speaks to some of the personal things that kind of happened, I want to say about a year ago. We're not going to get into detail of those things. I believe it was just a big misunderstanding. And with this, I believe that it really ironed a lot of those things out. I believe everybody's on good terms. Again, it just shows the greatness of the community, right? We're all here to build each other up, not knock each other down. Because again, how are we going to grow? How are we going to reach the bigger picture if we don't help each other, grow, right? If we constantly just sit here and beat each other down, nobody will ever grow, or it'll be cornered into one kind of specific kind of niche or market, and then we don't know how that could end up turning out. But Contraband. The reason that this is definitely a topic, because this is another one of those games that I don't believe it's like they're specifically, I don't believe, because Avalanche isn't owned by Microsoft, but they're making a game specifically for Xbox. And this is one of those games that has a lot of hype behind it. I believe it's supposed to be a third-person game. I know some people are asking, well, what setting is it taking in? What kind of cars are they using? And this, that, and other things. So I'm going to kind of set it up. So Avalanche Studios, the Just Cause developer, new IP Contraband will reportedly be focused on vehicle combat. I'll also have the link for Archie Boxenberger's show in the show notes below, so definitely be on the lookout for that. I also have the link for the Video Games Chronicle VGC article underneath that also, so you have all those places to reference, and you can also go sub and follow those great people. So to start off, announced in June 2021, and set to be published by Xbox Game Studios for console and PC, Contraband is officially billed as a co-op smuggler's paradise set in a fictional world of 1970s buy-in. Fresh information about the open world title has been thin on the ground since then, but Windows Central's Jez Contraband claimed to know what the game is during a World of Gaming stream this week, again, that is hosted by Boxenberger. He goes on to say, I got the design brief. It's sort of based entirely around vehicle combat. It's a very different type of game, he said. Basically, you plan smuggling runs and heists and then you execute them. It's sort of like the idea is not to kill your opponents. The weapons revolve around disabling enemy vehicles, like taking out the tires and stuff like that, rather than going on massive killing sprees with bloodshed and all that kind of stuff. They're going sort of more of a tactical kind of action game where killing is sort of the last result. Again, and then it kind of goes on from there. In an Xbox Wire post when Contraband was announced, a director, Omar Shakir, called it the studio's most ambitious and spectacular game to date. For those who haven't tried out Just Cause, definitely try those games out. They're not necessarily for me, but if you like over-the-top games with a decent little bit of story to them, I definitely say try them out.
Actually, go play Mad Max.
Mad Max is definitely...
Mad Max is now beefed up to 120 frames per second on the Series X.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It is a completely different game, and you will get an idea of the vehicle combat that they're talking about, because the vehicles in that game are main focus, obviously, in Mad Max.
Right.
And they do an amazing job with the vehicles. So go check that out.
And then they go on to say, we're taking everything that we've learned from 18 years of being at the forefront of creating beautiful, vast, open game worlds filled with stunning vistas and incredible emerging gameplay moments, said Shakir. To fully deliver our vision for Contraband, we have an amazing team at Avalanche Studios that are pushing the boundaries with the next generation of our Apex engine, the technology behind all our games, including the Just Cause series. We built the engine to unlock the creativity for our developers, and we're excited to take full advantage of our unique capabilities on Xbox Series X and S. As well as the Just Cause series, Stockholm, Sweden-based Avalanche Studio also developed 2015's Mad Max and co-developed 2019's Rage 2 with ID Software. Rage itself didn't end up doing that well. Mad Max, I know, I don't know if I feel like it got a missed opportunity.
It didn't sell well. The reviews weren't great on it, but it's become one of those hidden gems now.
Right.
Now that everybody's starting to replay it again, everybody's like,
people are like, oh, snap.
Really good. The combat's really good. It's got Arkham style combat in it as well. Hand-to-hand combat, which is amazing. Yep.
So with Contraband, man, Contraband brings up a lot of interesting ideas from at least from what I'm getting and from what I've heard of it. It gives me some of those familiar feelings of a goodness. Why am I so brain dead today? It's right there on the tip of my tongue, and I don't know why I can't say it. It's not what is it, man? Twisted Metal. There we go. God, why is that like deep in the database somewhere? It's probably because I haven't played Twisted Metal since like PlayStation 2. But it definitely gives me some of those semblances of Twisted Metal, although that's even extremely different. I have a feeling like this is going to be kind of a mix between some third-person combat, kind of like I think it was 3-Bit that I heard making some comparisons to Payday, to where you kind of got to plan out your heist, you go in, steal the pictures, you got to get out. If you get heat, then things can really go left really quickly. You're also penalized for it if you get caught, where you don't get as much and everything else like that. This could be something similar, though. you did bring up some interesting, I believe it was you, Pong, last night that brought up some interesting points of perspective on like they can do something to where like they nail the third person perspective so well that you could be shooting out of the back of the truck, you could be opening the door, you could be loading it when you're loading it into the van. You're gonna have some moments there where there could be some PvP moments where you're kind of like fighting over the objective, kind of going back and forth where they can kind of come back and you got this team, they can chase you down, destroy your vehicle, take your take the product no matter what it is. Maybe potentially you can still, if they blow up your vehicle, maybe you can sit there, everybody, you can hop out, fight over, you can shoot the person out of their car, kind of jump in their vehicle, kind of take over from there. It just leaves a lot to be. I have a lot of questions because this is definitely an interesting concept that, at least from my perspective, those are some of the aspects that I'm thinking of. Okay, I'm gonna be able to get in and out of the vehicles. I'm gonna be stealing. I'm gonna be having these PvP moments. Kind of, it's like some other some similar things that have been brought up where like there's this PvP, PvE aspect to it. I think that could be really dope if that's something that they end up doing. It could be. There's a lot of potential for a lot of chaos to happen in this game to give you that high energy, high octane, where there's always that pressure on you to be like, okay, well, we got to get here. We want as much bonuses as we can get. How can we get this and get back with minimal damage? Or it could be one of those, or if you come back with minimal damage to the vehicle, that's less money that you got to come out of pocket for repairs. Or if your vehicle blows up, now you need to get a new vehicle. Maybe you got to go on a heist for a different vehicle. There's just so many things that can happen here that keep it very interesting. Again, with their experiences with Mad Max, so they bring in that vehicular combat, adding different weapons to the vehicles and everything. I think that's where they can definitely play to those Just Cause moments because they have a lot of over the top moments with that. I think Just Cause has this grappling hook kind of thing to where you can basically get onto anything, basically pull you midair or whatever the case may be, where you're going to open it up for these real extreme open world scenarios that are very different. There's just a lot that can happen here and it opens up a lot of questions. I feel like I have more questions now from what he said from that. Again, just saying it's going to be entirely based around vehicle combat. It's very different. The focus isn't necessarily killing your opponents, but killing could be like the last resort. So it's like, okay, so what parts of the third person aspect are they going to nail? Is it just going to be third person vehicles, or is it going to be third person vehicles and the third person perspective as far as your character goes and everything? There's a lot of interesting things that are going to happen here. Again, it just seems like the more we get into the future, again, also saying that it is going to be a next gen only game, current gen only game. That's another exciting thing. So that it opens it up to be an unlimited amount of things, right? I don't want to say, I don't want to not be hyped for it, because again, we're already seeing the potential, a lot of the hardware. If just to kind of tie back to Horizon Forbidden West, if there's one thing that's shown me is that, yes, the PlayStation, the older hardware is coming to its end to its end of its cycle, because I don't see it becoming much better than that. But also it opens up the opportunity for what is possible for as we move further into the future. And if this is going to be, I'm not anticipating this to come out till about 2024, 2025, maybe more to a 2024 game. It's just, I'm extremely interested. It's opened up more questions for me than anything. How are you kind of feeling about this, man? About the more news coming out, also it being talked about on Box and Burger Show, World of Gaming again, and then with Avalanche, man, it just seemed like to be hitting the right notes. I know Rage wasn't as successful as they wanted it to be, but again, when you look at Mad Max and you look at Just Cause, again, they got 4 games with Just Cause, right? So there has to be some kind of success there. They have to know somewhat of what they're doing, right? For them to constantly get rid of iterations of this game. So how you kind of feel about this, man?
Yeah. First things first, go check out the episode, World of Gaming, over on Box and Burgers channel. Definitely go watch this, because there was a lot more. Jez came out and said 90% sure that Age of Empires is coming to console this year, Age of Empires 4, which was fantastic. Talked about Project Belfry, the one from Stoic Studios, who did the Banner Saga series that is being worked on as an exclusive for Xbox as well. It's going to be a 2D side scroller with animation like Dragon's Crown. If you ever played Dragon's Crown on PS3, absolutely gorgeous. That's from Vanillaware. Atlas produced it. Just fantastic animation style. He talked about that coming out in 2023. He also talked about Avowed. He thinks that we are going to see it this year and may launch Q1, Q2 of 2023. So Jez was dropping candy
all kind of stuff
everywhere. Like Steele said, this is normal stuff that he would hold for the Xbox 2 or do articles on Windows Central. And here he was on a great member of this community, another brother of mine that I podcast with over on Xbox Factor Podcast. And again, he had me on his new show as well, Boxenberger. He just passed 5,000 subs on his YouTube channel. So not the biggest channel in the world, but doing big things. And Jez shows up there and spread some love. Really fantastic. To see that happen. So go check out the episode. As far as the contraband information, Steele, this really does. Again, the more I hear about, I have so many visions because we're talking about current gen only, right? So now we're thinking about these bigger games in 3-bit. Shout out to 3-bit because you made mention that he had brought up Payday. He also brought up Smuggler's Run.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So Smuggler's Run's going back to the PS2 days for people who don't know. This is back in the day when Rockstar was actually publishing a lot of cool games, a lot of different games. It was by Angel Studio, and Rockstar published it. And Smuggler's Run was straight up, basically, it was at its core, it was a racing game. Okay. But you were picking up cargo and then you had to fight off like the CIA, border patrol, to make your way through checkpoints and get to, the extraction point, I guess you want to call it, the drop off point. And depending on how well you did, you'd earn a certain amount of money. Okay. So if you could kind of combine Payday and Smuggler's Run, now you got me really, my interest peaked on how they're going to pull this off, because they're talking about strategy. They're talking about kind of planning out your heist or your drug run or whatever you want to call it, your contraband run. Set in the 70s, right? We know that it's set in the 70s. Right. So like for me, there's a lot of questions to be answered here. Like if the main focus is the vehicles, is there still going to be a point where you got to load the contraband into a vehicle as part of the strategy? Like, hey, what vehicles are we going to use to bring the contraband back, depending on what it is? Like, do you have to consider like weight, shape, size? Do you have to plan out, like, do we need a van? Do we need a pickup truck? Do we need do we need a semi? And then what happens if, like, because it's co-op multiplayer, right? What happens if each person kind of has to kind of choose their role? Like one's the driver, right?
That'd be dope.
You got one, you got the other people like riding shotgun for the purpose of holding off whoever's trying to take it or get the contraband back, right? What happens if you can take two vehicles? One is the carrying vehicle, and then you've got escort vehicle or at two escort vehicles, and you got to protect that vehicle, right? PvP possibility. Rival members, either both of you are racing to get to the point to pick up the contraband, or maybe one is set up to actually try to intercept you, along with some PvE where you've got some AI also trying to fight you, right? So you got that PvP versus PvE VP aspect as well. Like there's so many different ways they could go. Steele, you're right about this. It's gotten my interest peaked on how they're going to pull this off. Because I'm imagining a bunch of different scenarios, right? I'm imagining like all sorts of different types of contraband you have to pick up. So again, trying to strategize how you're going to do that, how you're going to move it, getting out of the vehicle, getting it loaded. Meanwhile, you got people watching out for, people trying to come in and steal it from you. What if it's in the middle of the chase and somebody can climb on board and hijack the vehicle that you're in and then take it for themselves? And then you have to try to get it back again. Like I said last night, Indiana Jones style ones, if you got like an open truck and you can climb in the back of the truck and start dumping the cargo out, right? And somebody else from the other team can go pick it up, right? Stuff like that. to me has me wondering. And then how are they going to pull off, if it's mostly focused on the vehicles, are we still going to have gunplay? Now, Jez originally stated, yes, there was some gunplay, but now he's leaning more towards, well, it's more just for disabling vehicles. But I got to imagine, whoever's on the attack, right, could use the disabling stuff, but they're going to still have to protect themselves. And the people that are delivering the cargo obviously need to be able to shoot, at people. So, man, this blend of genres just sounds crazy to me. But if there's a team that can pull it off, it's Avalanche. First of all, the physics are going to be crazy. The physics in Just Cause are ridiculous. Like, again, using the grapple to tie a soldier to one of the explodable canisters, and you set it off and they take off like a rocket, like a bottle rocket. It's freaking amazing, man. It's just freaking amazing what you can do. Combined with the work that they did in Mad Max, the work that they did with Rage 2, those types of games. Really, this team is experienced in kind of doing it all from all different perspectives. So I think they're going to pull this off. Avalanche is 3 total studios, I believe, at this point. They definitely have the resources to pull this off. We just got word, too, that they're now working on their biggest game of all time behind the scenes as well. They've got a new AAA in the works as well. This team's expanding. Yeah. That makes me question where all the money's coming from. Obviously, they just cut this deal with Xbox to make this game, but is there more to it? Because suddenly this team seems it seems to have
they're pretty active.
They're really active, and they've gotten they've gotten to the point where they're pushing themselves beyond their norm. When you come out and say, "Hey, we're working on our biggest," you're already working on one AAA game for Xbox. Right. That's going to be exclusive. But then on top of that, you come out and say, "Oh, by the way, in fact, we have our biggest open world AAA game that we've ever tried to do." That's also in the works at the same time. That tells me that there might be some more stuff behind the scenes. That might be that this is one of those deals that's basically all but done, and they're just going to wait on it to announce it till maybe after the Activision Blizzard deal, or maybe till later in the year when things are looking good. Interesting thoughts, but I love Avalanche. I can't wait to see what they come out with this game. And like I said, this could be so unique. We have so much co-op multiplayer right now, and so many games that can pull our attention. Look, Steel, we were on Rainbow Extraction for a solid 2 weeks, and now we haven't played it in a while. And, there's all these different games you can play, but with this unique style, they really could carve their own space in that. If it's bringing more of a focus on the car aspect, and they pull it off with the strategy, and they really make it feel rewarding for what you're doing, this could have a chance, because it's going to be so different from everything else out there that it's not going to get lost in the shuffle per se. It's really going to be something where people go, "Wow, this is so different. I want to sit down and play this. Man, I got buddies playing this. Let's all hop in together." That could be one of those types of games. So, I can't wait to see it, man. I really can. I hope we get a glimpse. I hope it's sooner. I hope this is a 2023 game. I really do. And I think it possibly could be. So maybe we get to see it this year. Along with Avowed. That would be kind of a cool glimpse into the future come around E3 time, if they're planning on getting this game out in 2023. So that's where I'm at with it, though, Steel. I'm loving the ideas behind it, man. Like I said, my brain explodes because I'm seeing like cargo planes drop in stuff. I'm seeing, ships. You got to get to the shipyard and get it loaded onto the ship. I'm seeing all sorts of craziness here, depending on how they really want to take this. So I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, man, there's so much potential to be had there, and it just keeps things interesting. Again, if you needed a reason to be hyped for the future or whatever the case, there's plenty of reasons there. Like we say all the time, pull yourself out of that world, really look at those darkest places. It's the golden age of gaming. Shout out to those who are picking up what we're putting down. No tea, no shade there. But with that being said, I think with that, I think this has been an amazing show, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank everyone who has been with us for this 3+ hours, just talking about this content and what's going on within the industry. Again, so many different facets, so many different things, amazing things are happening. Hopefully everybody's buckled in and ready for that. Also, just thank you all for being here. You are having interesting conversations in chat like always. Definitely much love for that. And then for the people still here, you already know and for the people who are listening, you already know what we're going to get into. Last week, I wasn't really able to jump into it. I had a lot of personal things going on, but this week, I should be able to get everything set up and get everything uploaded. So we should be good to go. But we got to get into the This Day in Gaming segment, aka Make Pong Feel Old, where we go back 30 years within gaming history. Again, like I stated earlier in the middle of the show, we like to just show where we have come from to where we are today. Again, just to kind of give people, especially in gaming, not necessarily, being grateful, but gaming is art and should be treated as such, as I'm always going to say. And there's been quite a few amazing titles that have came out this day in gaming that we definitely want to speak on. So let's get into that. Here goes the transition. Ow!
That sound effect new? Are you going to use that sound effect all the time?
I might.
Ow!
I need to change the date on that. It's not February 5th, but that's perfectly fine. It is brought to you by Star Wars Starfighter. So shout out to that. Amazing game back in the day. It was on PlayStation 2. But to start off with, we are going to start off in 1999 on PC. And that's going to be Resident Evil 2 1998 in Japan. That's actually, I think Resident Evil 2 is part of the reason why I don't like scary games today. Just saying.
Come on now. Resident Evil 2 wasn't so bad.
No, it might have not been 2. It was one of those. It was one of those in between. I can't remember. I'll be funny, but then in 1999, Nintendo 64 released Snowboard Kids 2 in Japan.
Oh. Yeah, never played.
Yeah, never played that.
No, but Shredders is coming. Shredders is coming next month, right? So we're gonna have a snowboarding game here soon.
There you go. Too. Yeah, it looks solid. Then in 2001, PC released Icewind Dale: Heart of Winter.
Forgotten Realms. What a beautiful place to live. I love Forgotten Realms stuff. Dungeons and Dragons.
And then 2001 again, they also PlayStation 2 released Star Wars Starfighter. Then in 2004, PlayStation 2 released Final Fantasy X2 International Plus Last Mission in Japan. What a name
Love
for
Final
a game.
Fantasy 10, my favorite. X2 was okay.
Or 10-2, X2.
10's my favorite Final Fantasy. So.
Then PlayStation 2 also released Shadow Hearts Covenant in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 2007, PSP released Monster Kingdom Jewel Summoner.
Okay.
Interesting. 2008, DS released Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. Another one of those classics. 2008, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 released Dynasty Warriors 6. I think
still Samurai Warriors fan more than Dynasty Warriors, but man, my Musu fighters, I love messing around with.
Yeah, they're definitely a good time. Then in 2009, Xbox 360 released Star Ocean: The Last Hope in Japan.
Ooh, Star Ocean, such a great series. God, man, so good.
And then on 2013, PC released and Xbox 360 released Crysis 3. And then PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 released Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance.
Ooh,
again,
talk about Platinum Games.
Talk about Platinum. Again, that's my personal favorite Metal Gear game of all of them. Personally, but
because it's not Metal Gear.
Because it's exactly. Because it's not Metal Gear. And then right after that, it's Phantom Pain. So, I mean, if you want to consider that Metal Gear either. But that's when I got into the series, and games like that is what entices me. I still feel like they're missing an opportunity with not doing a second game for that, because that's key content. That's great content right there. But that's another game right there that shows you that they can do that content and do it well. We need that in our space, man. More of that we can get. I think the more amazing things. Again, I share stuff all the time about these indie devs who are doing something similar. Definitely stay on the lookout. Then in 2013, PlayStation 3 released the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim Hearthfire.
Yes. Official add-on for Skyrim.
100%.
So, yeah. Purchasing, that was if I'm not mistaken, that was when you could start purchasing homes and designing, like designing your home and all that kind of stuff. That was what Hearthfire was around. So,
nice. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Then in 2015, the 3DS released Adventure Bar Story. Okay.
Okay.
Then the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation Vita released God Eater 2 Rage Burst in
God
Japan.
Eater. Gem. Love God Eater is fun to fool around with too. So.
100%. Then in 2016, the 3DS released Fire Emblem Fates Birthright, Conquest, and Special Edition. So shout out to that.
Fire Emblem, so cool.
Then in 2019, PlayStation 4 released Death End Request, Yakuza Kiwami.
Yes, Death End Request, another JRPG gem, like hidden, like Death Request. I think they just came out with number 2 last year, I want to say, but yeah, Death End Request. Played around with it on the Vita.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
And then also. And then in 2021, PlayStation 4 released Persona 5 Strikers. I tried to jump into Strikers for a little bit. I think that's what kind of solidified it. Persona just isn't the thing for me, personally. You want to talk about
play a regular Persona. Like you gotta play Persona 4 Gold. If you played Persona 4 Gold,
isn't that turn-based though?
It is.
Strikers is cool. I'd rather play Strikers than the turn-based stuff. But you want to talk about whiny kids? Yeah, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna say that.
No.
I knew that would get you.
That's not true. Like if you said, "Hey, I don't want to do that," like Mav always says, "Hey, I don't want to go back to school. I hated school in the first place, so I don't want to go do all the school stuff that's in Persona."
I can hear you. I don't care about that.
But
no, I said that because I knew it would fuck with you. But yeah, I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, I mean, again, it's more of an actual action style based combat. If you like Scarlet Nexus, it has something similar to that. I don't think it does it quite as well as Scarlet Nexus does, to my personal opinion. But again, I'm just not a huge Persona fan, so maybe that's the problem. But neither here or there. That was this day in gaming segment. Ladies and gentlemen, back to the main part of the show. Again, for all you still here, greatly appreciate you listening in, being tuned in. Again, definitely hit that like button, share us out so people can know when we are live, or can definitely find the show on the back end. Again, you can tell anybody, just type in Living Splitscreen. I believe at this point, we've become so consistent that you can type the name in. It's going to come up, whether it's Google, or YouTube. You type it in, it's more than likely going to come up. I've done a couple test runs as far as that, being signed out of everything and just pulling it up. So that's pretty dope. Other than that, you can find me, Steel Rain. The T's a 7 everywhere. Just like Living Splitscreen, you type it in Google, you type it in YouTube, you type it in any gaming whatever that you got, you more than likely will find me. So definitely hit me up on there. Also, it's the same thing on Twitter. You want to hit me up in the DMs, talk gaming, talk business, whatever the case may be, definitely hit me up. We can talk about whatever. Right now, again, currently into the groove of Lost Ark. Definitely enjoying that. Again, enjoying some Destiny 2 on the PvP side of things. I'm not necessarily going to say that I've put down Halo, but because there are other games that I like to play, time is so limited, man. Like, I want to be able to touch on different things, but I also want to be able to get through some things. I was jumping to some Dying Light 2 with my brother the other day. I was helping him on his story, but I don't know.
Oh, you were cheating on me?
Yeah, I guess so.
Whoa. We really got to have a talk. That's for after the show, man.
Okay, gotcha.
I can't put up with a cheater.
I hear you. But he's still in the beginnings of the game, so I've been trying to help him out with that. I don't know. I think he's more hyped to play Elden Ring. I mean, he likes Dying Light 2, but I think it's something that's going to end up falling to the wayside for him. He's also, again, busy, work and everything, and our schedules kind of conflict. So I think he's more excited to really jump into Elden Ring more so than anything else right now. That's the number one thing he keeps talking about every time that we jump into a party. He's like, yeah, man, this is great, but what about that Elden Ring? So definitely interested in that. So that's definitely going to be the next plan for this next upcoming week. But other than that, yeah. If you guys want to team up on Lost Ark, I believe I'm in NAE's Gallant server. I'm over there with Tempest Sun. I'm in his guild and everything. Got me in there. So that's been pretty dope. But yeah, other than that, Much love to everybody. Appreciate you for being here. Listen to it on the back end. Y'all stay safe. Be easy. Hopefully y'all have a fantastic rest of your weekend. Pong, the uncanny gentleman himself, the X-Man himself. Lead the people to victory, man.
What a show, Steel. Again, Saturdays would never be the same without this. Thank you, brother, for all you do on the back end, even during your busy real life as well. But man, episode 45, this was amazing. Thank you all for showing up. Chat, always, all our friends in there that show up each and every week, man. You guys are all amazing members of this community. Nothing but always the respect for what you do, which is coming out and sharing this passion with us. Love you all. Have a great rest of your weekend. As always, but man, this was a great show. Love the content, love the topics. Again, we have so much that we could talk about. Steel, I'm gonna throw this out there again.
Oh yeah,
7 degrees of seven degrees of Kevin Bacon, right? Everybody knows somebody. Hey, anybody that's looking to start up a video game centric channel or radio show or maybe huge, just a huge production value kind of show, or G4 needs some new players in the game. Look, Steel and I are available. Look, we're not going to ask for the big money. Okay. Look, we're very reasonable, but we will do this.
We're gonna work with you.
You pay us. We will do this 5-6 days a week. We will talk 4 to 8 hours per day about all this news coming out easily. We can do TV. We can do podcasts. We can do radio. You name it. We're available. So just let us know because we're down for it. Okay. So anyways, got to get that out of the way. But I love you all. You guys can catch me, Pong Soul, on Xbox, Pong Soul on Twitter. You know the drill. Tonight, the Shop Podcast. Go over PTK Blam's channel. Make sure you subscribe to his channel as well. He's just such a great part of this community. So please, PTK Blam's channel, the Shop Podcast, myself, Fuzzy, PTK. I don't know if we have a guest on or if it's just going to be us three chilling out tonight, but be there, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. Great way to end your Saturday night. Have us on in the background. Easy show to listen to for sure. PTK Blam, the Shop Podcast tonight. Otherwise, Tuesdays, Xbox Factor Podcast. Double Barrel Gaming is the channel. Mr. Boomstick is the man. He had jumped in here early. Shout out to Boom, of course. Big giant member of this community. Just an awesome guy who supports everybody, big and small. So please go check us out. Xbox Factor, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. You get Fun Speculation, aka Mav, when he is available. You get Boxenberger when he is available. You get Mr. Joanna Dark. You get myself. You get Boom. You never know who Boom might ask to come on. Steel's been on a bunch of times when he's had off. So look, come by Xbox Factor Podcast. All the good green talk you could ask for. 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central. Thursday nights, PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM. Normally a two-man show, although Mav has been having a guest here and there. We had Colt on, we had Boom on, so you never know who else is going to show up. But come in there Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. Two-man show normally. Deep dive a few topics. Great time over there on Fun Speculations channel. That's Thursday nights, and then Xbox Ultimate on Friday nights as well over on Fun Speculations channel. My Fridays have been crazy. I've been showing up late, but I try to get there each and every week. So be there 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. The Great Eight, or depending on how many of us can be there. 3-Bit actually showed up out of the blue last night. My God, it's been months. 3-Bit shows up. I thought he was a guest, and he finally came back. But we had a fun time last night talking about all these smaller topics. Right. Otherwise, it's the golden age of gaming, people. It is. It's the golden age of gaming. You're hearing that more and more. It's funny enough. More and more people are now using my tagline that I've been using since I jumped into this community. The golden age of gaming is here. So please enjoy it. Play what you love what you play. And just overall, you know what? Have a happy, healthy, and wealthy life. And I want you guys to continue to focus on that too as well. Hug those closest to you. Tell them that you love them. Otherwise, have a great rest of your weekend. Love you all. We'll talk to you all real soon.
Much love, everybody. Y'all stay safe. We'll check you out next time on Living Splitscreen, episode 46. Hey, we're almost in a year of doing this show, man. It's an amazing thing. Amazing thing to think of. So much love. Y'all stay safe. We'll holler at y'all next time. Peace.